Welcome back, Commander. I'm Korak, your host for the evening, joined today by Alex06.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex06, streaming some Chrono Clash 2 today. How are you doing, everyone?
And this is Kane's Wrath. You are joining us both today on the third wave for the Chrono Clash 2. Start us over in the top right-hand corner of the map, wearing the yellow robe, sporting the nod gloves. Give it up for Tipsy.
And on the right hand corner, we have Hyde in the yellow nod player.
This should be Noev. You have H-O-X-A-E-B, right, Noev?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one.
Don't feel bad about pronouncing that one incorrectly. It's Latin. And it's literally like 2 or 3 different languages, so don't feel bad. Either way, the Chrono Clash 2 is powered by Chronosphere for teams who keep apps and sites running smoothly, even when users try their hardest to keep them from running. We are on the map Tournament Rift, and our game is going to be Noev into Tipsy. Give me 1 second while I switch over to scaling. You should see a little bit of screen tearing just ever so slightly. Zocom into Nod. What do you think Noev is probably thinking here with his Zocom choices? Do you think anything he might try to get out early in the game?
Well, he built a war factory first, so he's going to definitely go for some harvesting here, which is classic. But then I would think maybe he's going to go for airfields and try to get
Tiberium trooper ready.
Zocom Orcas, or maybe he's going to try and hurry up and get an epic unit out.
Thank you so much for the follow. We're getting a little bit of damage over here on the MCV. I was thinking it was going to be something a little more in the combative, but it looks like it's just a Raider buggy taking a couple of pot shots. Looks like he's already moving on to his first natural expansion. Actually, no, that's not even his first natural expansion. That's his that's his opponent's secondary natural expansion. Need to up Alex's sound a bit. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me up you, Alex.
No worries. We're experiencing some minor technicalities here, but please bear with us.
Okay, I took him up by 40%. Let me know how he sounds. Back to scaling. Sorry about that.
Well, I hope you guys can hear me well.
First Pitbull does appear to be out, and it looks like Noev is already grabbing that secondary natural expansion and sending a couple of troops over in advance in order to make sure he doesn't have any troubles before he is ready for him. And it looks like Tipsy has already produced a good, healthy number of these Scorpion tanks. Those are going to be pretty good into the Pitbulls if they can catch them.
Yeah, and I think that he's seen those 2 tanks coming in for his Pitbull. He's backing away, trying not to back into the enemy space, of course. Trying to scout the bottom area, see if there's already an expansion out there, I believe.
Scorpion tanks are moving in, taking a couple of pot shots off at the Harvester. It doesn't look like Noev has the forces just quite yet in order to fight him. He is producing Predator tanks. He does have the defender's advantage, and we are going to get something that I wish I would see a little bit more from a couple other players. Maybe a couple of rocket squads are usually pretty useful. They're cheap and easy to produce, especially when you're dealing with all of those units. They can be good into bikes. And speaking of bikes, over in the southern section of the map near the blue Tiberium, it looks like Tipsy already has a healthy number of attack bikes making their way around the southern section of the map, probably going to come up in between Noev's base over here. It looks like it is pretty exposed. Pitbulls are making their way, but I think they're a little bit too late. I'm not sure if Noev has been able to catch those just quite yet. I'm not sure if the Fog War has revealed them.
Oh, I think you're a little bit ahead of me. I'm experiencing some delays here. My match is, I believe, 20 seconds behind you.
Oh, am I a bit behind you?
You're ahead of me, actually.
Let me wait a couple
of
seconds.
Like 10-15 seconds, probably. And then we should be good.
Give us 1 moment trying to catch up with him. We probably should have tried that timer to see if it works, but... All right, let's try that. Bikes are moving into Noev's base over on the left-hand side right now.
That's what I'm seeing as well.
Taking a couple of really good shots off at the Rocket Harvester. Rocket Harvester down to half HP, down even lower. Massive mine drop hitting the majority of those bikes. That's gotta sting. Losing all those forces, he had such a massive advantage to lose every single one of those bikes to a mine drop. Pitbulls making their way over in the southern section of the map, inside of his opponent's base, inside of TipZ's base, but nothing really to write home about. That mine drop was definitely the MVP there. Noav either getting lucky or planning that out. Either way, was definitely able to get some massive gains off of that, and he's been able to control his opponent's natural expansion rather quite well. This leaves him open to go take down his other secondary natural expansion if he needs it.
Yep, and right now Noav has a pretty big tank army as well, about 10 tanks, 3 APCs, 4 APCs actually, and he's going to push for the Nod base here at the top. Obviously Hyde is probably gonna run and hide a little bit, if I may make a pun myself. But yes, he's going to plop down some defenses, I think, and I think he's going to be able to hold off. I don't think that's enough tank on the Zocom players to be able to push these Scorpions. Usually toe-to-toe, the GDI Predators are going to win in a fight against Scorpions, but at that many Scorpions, I think it's not a wise decision to push.
The assault is definitely beginning in earnest. We did get APM over there in the background as Scorpion tank after Scorpion tank does get taken down, but Predator tanks are following just as quickly. And most importantly, to keep in mind, TipZ has his defender's advantage. He can continue to produce resources and he can continue to produce units in order to stave off the defense, but it doesn't look like Noav has had enough. He's going to be able to continue his assault here. More and more Shredder turrets are on the front line, trying desperately to keep Noav outside of his base. TipZ holding onto his Scorpion tanks, trying to get a little bit more of an advantage before the fight really begins. Scorpion tanks going back in, and looks like TipZ maybe getting a little bit more confidence here and there, but he's getting his units picked off, and so far it looks like he's going to have a hard time dislodging Noav from inside of his base. Usually TipZ is the aggressor, so it's really nice to see someone keeping hit on his back foot. Noav doing a massive job over here. Another upgrade they did grab in the background is they did grab those Tiberian field suits for a couple of his rocket troopers, which are going to be very good in this, and it doesn't look like, other than the Shredder turrets, it doesn't look like there's an answer right now to the rockets. Things are definitely looking pretty anemic on both sides, but I think tank-wise, it looks like Noav is just a little bit ahead, and TipZ might have to back his way out.
Yeah, and you'd want to have your defenses focus firing on these rocket soldiers. You'd have to select each and every one of these Shredder turrets and manually get them to target each missile squad, which is a little bit difficult to micro when you're in the middle of a fight. But that would be a huge payoff in the end. Looks like he wasn't able to do it, unfortunately.
Harvester full of blue Tiberium does manage to make it back to TipZ's base as Noav still continues to shark around the outside looking for what he can snack on. Black Hand squads are in a good position to start killing a bunch of those Black Hands, but of course they're going to get crushed and slowly destroyed. Noav finally moving in for the second base, trying to soften this one up as well. TipZ might be in a bit of a danger. He still needs some sort of answer there to the rocket squads, and I don't think the Shredder turrets are going to cut it enough. They're delaying the fight ever so slightly, but there's only so much they're going to do. A couple of militant squads over in the north. Looks like that is going to be his answer for it. Those can be rather good into those, and the Predator tanks won't be able to get any good at destroying them, but still things are not looking good for TipZ as Noav moves his construction yard over into the front line, setting up watchtowers, start tailing some of those units there. Noav clearly in top form over here as he just continues his assault, not letting TipZ catch a break whatsoever, and he's controlling so much of the map right now, and more reinforcements just begin to join over and over. I'm not sure that TipZ really stands a chance here. I think this is Noav's game to lose. There it is. He is thrown in the towel. He is called the GG, giving the first point to Noav. This might be shaping up to be one of our first 5 out of 5 games. If you didn't know, the Chrono Strike group stage is a best of 5. Alex, what do you think that TipZ probably could have done a little bit better there? Like, where did his plan fall apart?
So I think he could have, let's see here actually on the resources tab. The resources seem to be a little bit ahead for, I I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce his name, but
Noav.
Aksabe Noav. Okay, so
Yeah,
Noav,
Noav.
is a little bit ahead as well. For most of the game, he was just a tiny bit ahead, and then towards the end, you can see that he really gets a lot more. So the resource differences I think helped, but it's not a major enough to make the biggest difference. I think what the issue was here was that Hyde, or in this case Tibsy, as you call him, as he goes by as well, he was putting up too many anti-infantry defenses and not using them efficiently. I think maybe something to deal with the infantry better, like let's say buggy, or let's say putting in some more infantry than he did, would have helped him quite a bit dealing against those rocket troops. And if not, better defenses against vehicles, some laser turrets would have definitely come in handy during the attack.
Welcome to round number 2, Commander, on the map Twilight Highlands. Starting us off over in the top right-hand corner of the map, now playing the orange, but sticking with his nod. This is Tibsy.
And on the slightly lower western side, we have Noav. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, Noav.
No, you got it right.
As the purple Zocom player, sorry. There we go.
Give me 1 second, Commander. I'm going to switch over on my scoreboard. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No problemo. So, as we can see here, Tipsy is capturing that tip spike next to his base. Noav just slightly ahead of him as well at the southern corner.
So far, nothing crazy yet from either player. The one you're going to have to watch really is Tibsy. I'm actually really surprised that Noav was able to get that weird kind of rush on Tibsy. Like I said, Tibsy, especially in the IES and in this tournament a little bit as well, has done a lot of the cheekier rushes and has been much, much quicker on the rushes than his opponent. So it's really interesting, in my opinion, to see him on his back footer or see him on the opposing end of that. If he's going to do a rush, he does have time to do it, but I don't suspect we'll see an all-in. We might get a flame tank or a reckoner, but that'll remain to be seen.
Right, and the second refinery goes down for Tipsy. He is currently low on power, so he's turning off the second refinery. And as well for our second player here on the other side.
Looks like he is just slightly behind Noav right now, just sort of in prep. That'll make a difference. Sort of the later the game goes, it grows exponentially, I feel, as far as like when you move everything over there. But if they're just moving their MCV over there and they don't have the refinery ready to go or close, or the funds for the refinery, it won't matter too much. They'll just get there without any massive advantage. If you didn't know, there's 2 Tiberium spikes here per player, as well as 2 sets of blue Tiberium in the north and in the south. First little bit, scouts are going out for Tibsy over in the southern section of the map, trying to poke and see what his opponent is doing. And he needs to get those scouts in there rather soon, because if Noav's going to do something sneaky, those scouts are going to be critical to figuring out what's going on.
Right, and as we can see here, we already have a second war factory going down for Noav. Really pushing out those pit bulls.
Does look like mass pit bulls are going to be the name of the game, and it looks like Tibsy is preparing for that. He's got a couple of Scorpion tanks out. Once again, one does get sent sort of to its doom, already down to half HP for these pit bulls. Assault might begin in earnest. One Scorpion tank does go down. The pit bulls do have the advantage over here as they manage to take off tank after tank. One pit bull dying in the background, another one getting focused down, but the focus fire is not really here for Tibsy. Tibsy losing these forces early on is definitely going to sting into Noav. He needs these tanks. Every single one of these tanks is going to be extremely precious, and he's not microing him in the way that they need, and he's going to get punished for it as the Harvester does get targeted down.
So right now, if I was Tipsy, I would be building a lot of rocket soldiers, and I think that's what he's going to be doing. Right here, we already see our very first rocket squad going down, second one as well, and we're seeing Noav back up a little bit as well. That was a good save.
Rocket Squad's definitely able to save a good chunk of his base. He wasn't able to take out any refineries or anything like that, but he did at least get a couple of Scorpion tanks, actually a healthy number of Scorpion tanks, and a Harvester. Moving in for the secondary assault is going to hit a couple of shots on one of those Scorpion tanks and begin to focus on the Harvester. And actually, we already get a GG as TipZ calls the game already. He's got to step things up. Maybe he's just not quite warmed up. Either way, he's running close to the edge. This is an elimination group, so if he's not careful, he can get knocked out in the bracket. There's a chance he can come back over there in the end, but they have to be extremely, extremely careful for that.
Yeah, so that was a 4-minute, 19-second match. That was pretty quick and efficient. It's a shame that Tipsy got caught off a little bit off guard, unfortunately. He was not expecting that many pit bulls so quick. I think if he had scouted the expansion a little bit faster, he would have been able to see that something was up. When you have 2 war factories out, usually you should be expecting, if your enemy player has 2 war factories, they'll usually be rushing you or be building a lot of vehicles, and you would be able to respond in kind on a map like this. There's enough space to put up defenses, to build out some rocket squads if you need to. But unfortunately, it was too little too late, and he was cut off position as well. When those pit bulls backed out of the expansion, they immediately went for the main base, and I think that's what it was.
There you are, Commander. Welcome to Tournament Odyssey. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, rocking the yellow, playing the nod, this is TipZ.
And in the lower left corner, playing as the purple Zocom player, we have Noav.
Noav coming out strong with a 2-0 lead. It doesn't look like TipZ was able to keep up, but I don't think he's going to take that lying down. I suspect we're going to get a little bit of returning gameplay here, and I think the answer is going to be what he chooses, not if he's able to get one of those strategies off. I don't think he's going to allow Noav to 3-0 him, but only time will tell. Noav has been doing fairly well, and I think those 2 games did favor him quite well, and I think that TipZ was just maybe not prepared for that level of aggression, being the one, like I said before, who is often on the aggression, on the assault himself.
Right, and we're seeing both players try to scout a little bit. Unfortunately, Noav has stopped his scouts short of the northern expansion here. In the foxhole, digging in, ready to expand as soon as he can. I think he's going to be wanting to pull that one really quickly. And we are seeing our first pit bull go out as well, which is going to get scouted really quickly.
So far, the openings for Noav have been consistent, at least between the 2 games. So knowing that he's going to produce those 2 war factories, or possibly produce those 2 war factories, as a Nod player, what would you be thinking to try to do? Actually, speaking over in the right-hand corner, we do have an operations center. Is going to get spotted. Flame tank is going to be out, and it's already going to take a couple of shots here from the pit bull.
Yeah, so I was saying, if you know the enemy player is going to rush, I would say either prepare for it or execute a better rush. I think right now that's been given away, unfortunately. So Noav is probably going to want to back up, and that's exactly what he seems to be doing. Prepare for the flame tanks that are going to come. I've already seen this play out a few times in matches before, and usually if the flame tank gets caught really fast, you want to switch, not continue focusing on that, because you're going to get caught pretty badly.
The Reckoner is going to get caught. It's already down to half HP. Those Black Hand Squads are already in danger, but the Flame Tank is still around. It's making its way over to the southern section of the base. It might try to go for this construction yard, but I'm not sure it's going to matter as the Pit Bulls actually catch it as well. It's already at half HP. They're trying their best to micro their way out, keep that Flame Tank off on its background. Sorry to interrupt you there, Alex, and just try to catch the action as it comes in.
No worries. Had to mute myself there for a few seconds. Apologies for that. And we can see that the flame tank went down really quickly. Now, what is going to happen here? We're seeing Tipsy get ready with those rocket troopers. Is he going to be expecting to get attacked? Is he going to go on the offense with this? We're seeing a secret shrine here. And I think we're going to see some man span potentially. So Black Disciples is getting researched, if I'm not mistaken.
Cabal Confessor squads absorbing a couple of those shots, but Pitbull's not doing too much into those units. Flame Tank actually over inside of Noav's base, destroying the refinery. Refinery does go down. Flame Tank is still up, going for the War Factory as well. Will it be able to get the second one? Just barely not. Either way, Tibz sneaking that Flame Tank in. Not only did he sneak it past Noav, but he snuck it past both Alex and I.
That was a good move. We didn't see it coming, unfortunately. So we see those Black Disciples finally researched. I think Man Spam is the name of the game here.
They would be quite good into all of these Pitbulls. Pitbulls, like I said before, cannot do too much to those units. Maybe if they get the mortars and they're stationary, they'll have a little bit easier time, but it's going to be a hard time dealing with this. But they're going to try to ignore them just in general and go for the Harvester. Harvester getting targeted down. Harvester at half HP, trying to play right around the Rosies and save itself. It's just barely hanging on. It might still go down because the rocket squads are not here. They are making an assault on top of Noav's base. Rocket squads and Black Hat squads moving in on his base. Harvester's coming in for the crush. They are going to try to focus down the War Factory, and there's good microing right there where he splits his units apart. War Factory going down to half HP, but I'm not sure it's going to matter too much because the crush is there. Harvesters being used in the Chrono Clash over and over as a desperate move to try to save him, and it did work really well there for Noav.
Yeah, it was a great use of Harvesters, actually. Unfortunately, I wish I could say the same for our friend Tipsy here. He did lose a Harvester to the attack, unfortunately, but I think he's going to want to push really, really quickly here. We have a few Rocket Squads all as well here. Another Harvester to replace the lost one, and we're seeing the Pitbulls come in for the attack. Shouldn't be too long now.
Reinforcements over in the background, and you might have missed it, there is also a air factory finally here for the Zocom players. We're probably going to see a bit of hammerheads and maybe some AP ammo here rather soon, I suspect. Pitbull's moving their way in and getting a couple of really good shots off on the Harvester, taking it down to half HP, but the Rocket Squads are here and they are ready for it, pushing their opponent outside of the base. Does look like Tibz is trying to corner a couple of these Pitbulls. It's going to be hard to do, but not impossible. He's trying to take over more of the center of the map, give himself some of that control, and keep the pressure off of his Harvesters.
And we're seeing here like 3 different waves of infantry units. One is staying behind to defend the base, and the other 2 are trying to approach on our Zocom player here. But we're seeing hammerheads come out. Really interested to see if you'll be able to take down those, and it seems like it's the case. Focusing fire on those rocket squads, that was a great play on Noyav's part.
Noav doing a good job with his hammerheads, running around to pick off everything that he can see and everything that he can grab. He's got both the AP ammo and the ceramic armor, so these Zocom hammerheads are going to be pretty good into all of this. We got a couple of bike and buggy here for Tibz. Tibz trying to match Pitbull in light units with light units. He's got to mix in a couple of more rocket squads. Sam Turret's out on the front line to keep those deadly hammerheads off, but not no Sam Turret just quite yet on the first natural expansions. Pitbull's moving their way in, taking a couple of really good shots off on these attack bikes. Is going to able to get a couple of those decoy army out there on the front line to absorb some of these shots. Hammerheads moving their way in. Things could turn into an all-out brawl. Tibz needs to be very, very careful here. He cannot afford to lose this fight, because if he does, he could potentially lose the game itself. Defender's advantage is in full effect as the Pitbulls try to chase down their opponents. More and more Sam Turrets out to deal with those pesky Hammerheads. Hammerheads finally getting targeted down. Finally, some damage being dealt to them. Defender's advantage is here for Tibz, but he's still taking a good chunk of losses. He's been able to keep most of the damage off of his Harvesters, but not all of it, as they now finally do get targeted.
And that's one Harvester down. Are we going to see a second one as well? It's below half count. It seems that one will be able to get away. So right now we're seeing Noav, I think, transition into tanks and heavier units, seeing as how the hammerheads didn't really work out. He's going to sell off one of those airfields as well. He's going to try and repair those that he still has, probably going to use them to bait his opponents into getting more anti-air, and then he's going to crush his infantry with tanks, is my best guess here right now.
Bikes do have their tip core rockets, and then going to take a couple of shots off at the Predator tank. Is going to destroy one of them at the cost of 2 attack bikes, but they're continuing their volley. Another Predator tank does go down. These Predator tanks are split up. They cannot concave, and they cannot keep up with these fast-moving units. Tib Z is just going to bounce around and get his picks, get his kills where he can, moving into the first main base of his opponent, destroying that old war factory, going for the harvesters, hitting Noav where it hurts, and moving faster and staying ahead of his troops. You may have stronger units, but it doesn't matter if you cannot catch mine, says Tib Z.
Right, and that was a full harvester ready to unload its load back at the refinery. So that's gonna push Noaf back a little bit resource-wise. He has one at his expansion and his secondary expansion. And his
Tib
first
Z.
expansion.
Oh, sorry. Tib Z definitely faring a bit better there. Sorry, Alex, my mic keeps cutting out. I think I got a little latency there. Tib Z faring just a little bit better, I think, in this time around. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Alex.
I was just saying that his expansion, Noaf's expansion is fully mined out. His second expansion only has one harvester, and his main still has the one left that he pulled back. But otherwise, he seems to be a little bit behind resource-wise at this moment, unfortunately.
And it feels like Noab is just sort of throwing his units into the meat grinder as he loses expensive tank after expensive tank. These Tib Core rockets are just doing so much work over here for Tib Z. Tib Z has been absolutely on top of the microing, and his opponent has not been able to group his forces in the appropriate way he is needed to. Hammerheads moving their way in. Hammerheads going down. 2 of them getting destroyed. Some of them with splash damage. Only 2 Hammerheads left, and it looks like the majority of the forces here for Noab are in danger. He needs to stop sending units into the meat grinder here. He does have a couple infantry mixed in, and it might make a bit of a difference here. They do have their upgrades. They do have their Tiberium field suits, but these attack bikes are still so far uncontested. Their numbers have dwindled quite substantially as only 4 of them remain. They're going to go for a harvester, but it's not going to matter as Tib Z finally loses those forces. Snipers are going to be the answer there for the man spam into Tib Z's forces.
And that was actually great use of those sniper teams. That was a lot of infantry and more coming in as well. So if Noab is able to keep those 2 snipers alive and in the back of his little assault force, I think he'll be able to take down that infantry army really well. It's just a matter of not playing into his opponent's defensive advantage.
Selling off of 2 of the Shredder turrets to give Tib Z just a little bit of infusion of cash as the assault begins in earnest over on his main base, making its way over to the first natural expansion for him. He's got quite a good number of troops built up, but isn't going to be enough. He's got to have an answer to those sniper squads. Those sniper squads are just absolutely eviscerating his forces, and it looks like Noab is going to be set up here to stay. He's got his construction yard over here on the front line and is ready to set up.
So could this be the final push of our game here, or are we going to see that get pushed back? Is what I'm wondering. Seeing a barracks here.
Go ahead.
Seeing a barracks here, there's going to be probably a few sniper teams coming out. He's seen that there's a lot of infantry. He's going to want to take those out, and I think he has a good chance of doing that.
Plenty of Shredder turrets here to absorb a good number of the shots and stop those sniper teams from getting too close, selling off of the power plant. But that's going to put all of these Shredder turrets down in a low power mode. Something gets sold off in the background. Assault beginning in earnest as all of the man spam runs into these numbers. The sniper squads need to be taken out. The tanks are at the very least dying, probably soon to follow by a couple other units, but there are a set of AP ammo watchtowers over there in the background, which can make a difference, but I think things favor Tib Z. He definitely has the defender's advantage. He has plenty of infantry here, and it looks like he's not being stopped. Sniper teams are finally being targeted down. There's only, I think, 1 set of them left, as it looks like Noab may be pushed back entirely.
And a mass sell-off of those turrets, leading into even more infantry. I think that was an extremely good play on Tib Z's parts.
More and more barracks are coming out here for Noab, but I think it's a desperate attempt. There it is. He's thrown in the towel. Another one of those games that have ended sort of unceremoniously there, and I don't even get a tracker on who won that, but I think it's pretty obvious. Tibsy did manage to get a victory off on Noav. He's finally found his footing. Is he preparing for a reverse sweep? Because Noav only needs to get one more game in order to progress further on into the Chrono Clash.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame that Noav really overplayed his hand on this one. I think pushing with not enough sniper teams was his mistake here. He wasn't ready to hold long enough to be able to take out all of those Tipsy's infantries, and that's what really did him, unfortunately.
Here we are on Hampstead Gardens. Starts over in the top right-hand corner of the map, rocking the purple, playing the looks like Zocom. This is Noav.
And in a new team color, rocking the teal color this time, and the lower left, corner, we have Tipsy, aka Hyde, as the Black Hand player.
Hampstead Gardens is presented by the Campers Coalition, because waiting in the corner is a lifestyle. 1 second, Commander, in the background, I'm going to update my Super Ghetto scoreboard. If you didn't know already, the score is 2-1. Noav getting back-to-back victories, and then Tibsy or Hyde grabbing another victory rather quickly. Both players looks like they both elected to stick with their same factions, maybe trying to feel out each other with those particular factions. Maybe they've done a bit of practice and they don't want to switch either way. I think the important part's going to boil down to the transitions. Are those pit bulls going to dominate like they did in the majority of the games, or has Tibsy learned his lesson? What are you feeling? What do you think is going on in Tibsy's head? What do you think his plan might be?
I think he realized that if he lets Noav really push, and he can bait him really into overplaying, that's a good way of winning a match. If I was him right now, I'd be thinking, okay, what is he going to do, and how can I let him overplay his hand once more? How can I bait him into doing something that is unexpected? How can I do something unexpected and bait him to do something that otherwise he wouldn't be prepared for? That would be my guess.
First Pitbull is out and has made its way across the map, taking a couple of free shots at the MCV, doing minor damage to it, but making its way inside to see what Tibsy is up to. You got to keep an eye on those pesky Nod players, because they will get something sneaky going, and Tibsy definitely is one of these really sneaky players. Like we saw previously, that Flame Tank snuck past every single one of us. Neither one of us were able to catch it. He was just being absolutely cheeky and sneaky with it. Pitbull is going to get chased out by a Raider buggy. Nothing really to write home about just quite yet. I really want to know what the transition is going to be for Tibsy, because I think it's going to boil down to him. Capitalizing on mistakes are definitely useful, and if you sort of put things on the aggression on your end, you can control the tempo. 4 Pitbull is actually moving their way inside of the base, but I think it looks like Tibsy is already ready for it. He's got a couple of bike and buggy out here, and he's got a hand and knot here for the defense. Probably going to get a couple of rocket squads out. There they are. Shredder turret is there as well. This was not a reinforcement, because this is just a standard APC, no upgrades whatsoever. Pitbull so far uncontested, but if they're not careful, they are going to get taken down. They're going to try to take a couple of shots off at the Harvester, but think better of it and back their way out. 1 Pitbull going down. Looks like Noav might throw a couple of Pitbulls here to their doom. These Cabal Capacitor squads may not seem like they do a lot of damage, but they will hurt these Pitbulls rather handily.
Right, and at this point, it's pretty clear that Noav really likes to use Pitbulls early on, lots of them, and if Tipsy is able to hold them off, he knows that he can pretty much have a good chance of winning the game. As we see now, he's reacting a lot faster than he was at first. He's a lot of rocket squads out really quickly, not bikes as well, so he's learned from his mistakes pretty quickly.
He has truly capitalized on predicting his opponent and coming up with an appropriate strategy for it. It looks like the Noev might be a little bit predictable, at least from TibZ's standard. The real thing is going to boil down to if Noev is going to be able to do a little bit of a transition. I would like to see a bit more APCs from him, maybe, than he was getting beforehand, because I don't think the Pitbulls are going to be are going to be able to do too much into this, especially because it looks like his opponent, looks like TibZ, is going to focus on a good chunk of this man spam as he did last time. So those APCs with maybe some Shatterers or a couple other things would make a difference, I feel.
Right, and right now we're still seeing tanks trying to crush infantry. We're seeing some APCs come in as well. I think that's more APCs than we've seen from Noaf before. That is a good reaction to that many infantry. I think he knows that he has to deal with the Black Hand player before there's too many infantry out. Keeping those numbers low is going to be really important for our Zocom player.
So far, it looks like TibZ is just testing the water as he sends small sets of units in on his opponent's base to see what Noav is up to. He is focusing a little bit of damage on here on the Tiberium Spike. They might actually be able to get it because the APC is turned around and is no longer focusing on it. It can't choose what it wants to go as the Tiberium Spike does go down for Noav. That won't make a difference just quite yet, but the longer and longer the game goes, the more and more that's going to make a difference. Plenty of attack bikes over here, catching a whole bunch of these harvesters. Actually, 3 of these harvesters, if they're not careful, they are going to lose them. He does decide to back out, seeing all of those tanks. It doesn't look like TibZ wants this fight just quite yet. That is a good number of armor that has been built up, but the same can be said for TibZ. TibZ has a good chunk of these bike and buggies out and ready to go. If he can group those with his infantry squads and bait some of those forces there for Noav in, I think he can do quite some damage.
Yeah, it was a really good play as well, building those buggies and going, pushing those buggies back into behind enemy lines to take out those snipers. I think he was expecting those based on his last few matches. That was really good because I think it put Noyav on his back foot a little bit. He was not expecting this, I believe.
APMO is here for Noav, so he's got that going for him. Still would like to see a couple of more APCs. The tanks will be okay into these rocket bikes, but they're still going to take a lot of damage. And what's unfortunate there for Noav is his forces have begun to take a couple of whittling shots here and there, so a lot of them already at half HP. TibZ moving over on the right-hand side of the map, making his way north, maybe into the first natural expansion, maybe into the first base. Tib Core rockets did complete, so they are going to have that for this assault. That means they're going to be able to hurt quite significantly. Decoy army out over here as they move their way into the first natural expansion, destroying one Pitbull, but deciding to turn around. A couple of decoy armies are going to stay there to absorb some of the shots and keep some of the attention. Guardian tank does pop its way out, but it doesn't matter because they're going to go for that soft target. They're going to go for that sweet harvester as it gets taken down. Another assault over to the south begins as mass man spam fights all of these tanks, Shredder tanks into all of these units. It does look like TibZ is going to come out ahead. He's got plenty of infantry to fight this, and there's not enough Cypress teams to slow him down. There's 3 here, but that's not going to be enough to stop all this crazy amount of units. The assault in the north may have gone not quite as successfully, but I think that things are faring a little bit better for TibZ in this round than he has in some of the previous ones. Noav's forces are looking hurt and anemic. Tip Core rocket are going to take a couple of shots off at the harvesters over in the secondary natural expansion, destroying one of them as they make a drive-by. If they're not careful, though, they might run into some of the forces. That's going to be extremely unfortunate. TibZ losing those Tip Core rockets is definitely going to sting, but that's exactly what Noav wants to find.
Yeah, so he was TibC waited to catch Noav off position with his vehicles, and while that worked for a short bit, was able to take out 2 harvesters. He got caught himself off position as well with those tanks, and right now I think that his tank army might get caught. No, it's not getting caught, actually. He's pulling back in the middle area. He doesn't want to get caught by those infantry who wouldn't be caught dead next to those infantry. And we're seeing hammerheads and zone shatterers as well. I think Noav is really getting ready to face that infantry army.
Those zone shatterers, I think, are going to play a key role in this fight. That's so many infantry to deal with. But the defender's advantage is going to be full in effect, and it looks like Tibsy is playing it safe. He's also got a Mantis over here on the front line. Would be nice to maybe see a couple of beam cannons or something like that to start picking off the armor while the man spam engages all of that. That would be, I feel like, a good thing to pad out this stat, or maybe get some avatars, but maybe he's just saving up for the man spam.
And even Spectres in this case might come in handy to deal damage against large armies, or at least to flatten them a little bit, lower the health, making them easier to get taken out. But I believe he will go for the Purifier. It seems we have one Purifier, one Obelisk out. We have a Marv coming out for the Zocom player as well. Very interesting. Is he going to wait, or is he going to attack first and let that Marv catch up? I think in my opinion,
waiting for that Marv might bite him in the butt.
I think he's waiting. It seems like he's waiting, but that gives Tipsy a lot more time to get ready, and Tipsy's moving his infantry into position. I think that's a lot of rocket troops. I don't know if you want to be facing that with that vehicle army just yet, but unfortunately, in this situation, you're caught between a rock and a hard place, and two of those pit bulls are already getting taken out.
At the very least, they were able to get a little bit of scouting, and I think that may have actually been 3 pit bulls taken out there over there. It looked like 3 vehicles going down. Third Purifier. No, actually, it looks like he heard you, Alex. He has built a Spectre over in the there in the background. Redeemer Engineering Facility is out, so we're gonna have T3 into T3. I think the forces seem to favor Tibsy, but Noav feeling confident in his forces, having his Marv out on the front line, is going to start moving its way in over time. I think there is a sniper squad inside of that Marv. Obelisk of Light is finally in range. One click is there. Hopefully to get a couple of these Purifiers, but that will remain to be seen. Zone Shatters moving in on the left-hand side. Marv not in a good position just quite yet. Forces over on the right-hand side. Massive amount of EMPs. That Obelisk is not able to get off the number of shots that it needs to, but it does finally come online over on the left-hand side. Rocket Squad after Rocket Squad does get taken down. Noav needs to win this assault, but it's not looking super great for him. The defense is just too tough for Tibsy. Tibsy did take a good amount of damage, but those Spectres seem to be worth their weight in gold because they're hitting a good, healthy number of these zone shatterers. All that's really left is the Marv, but we should have a Redeemer here in a minute. It is baking in the oven, and it will be out soon, and the forces for Noav are looking quite anemic.
I know, those were some pretty good shots by the Spectres, might I add, that even with the great use of support powers from Tipsy, he was not able, unfortunately, to take them down. And I think that's what's going to do him in here, this fight. The Redeemer's out as well, with a flame upgrade. You wouldn't want to be caught with that MCV and War Factory, and it seems like he's going to go straight for them as well.
He is definitely going for the base crush. Spectre tanks over in the background to support this Redeemer. Redeemer doing a rage field generator, but it's only going to be able to hit a couple of units, kind of falling on deaf ears. There's only a couple of zone shatters, a couple of other things over here. Redeemer getting close to half HP, but I'm not sure it's going to matter because the Marv is down. There is a Sonic Emitter out on the front line, but it's going to take a whole bunch of damage from these Shredder turrets. Obelisk Light is still on the front line. APCs moving their way in, but they're not going to be enough to deal with this Redeemer. Construction Yard is getting targeted down at half HP as the Redeemer locks its sights in on that. A couple of reinforcements making their way down. Sonic Emitter trying its best it can to do really anything, but not able to stop and kill what it needs to as the MCV goes down, as one more final Sonic Emitter does pop its way up, but the Redeemer is close enough to destroy it.
And Noav is really throwing in everything he's got, even those rocket harvesters. I think at this point it's over and the GG has been called. It seems we have a winner in this match, bringing the matchup to 2-2. We are at match point right now.
Just like Alex said, match number 5 will be the tiebreaker. Whoever wins it will progress further on into the tournament, and obviously whoever loses will be eliminated from the tournament, and they will only have one more chance to pop back in. Give us one moment while we switch maps. Thank you for joining us, Commander, on round number 5. Over on the right-hand side of the map, rocking the purple, playing the, it looks like, black hand. This is Noav.
And on the left side, we have our yellow GDI, pardon me.
Steel Towns.
If I'm not mistaken, Steel Towns in this case. Player Tipsy, aka Hyde. Sorry. Got a little
All
off
good
guard
there. I
with
seem
my
to have
sore
caught you.
throat.
It sounds like I caught you a little bit inside of your hydration. Sorry. I should have waited a couple more minutes. Looks like there are 2 Tiberium spikes on Toxicity, which of course is the map that we are on. 2 Tiberium spikes are going to get grabbed for each one. No one grabbing the defensive tower just quite yet. However, there is a foxhole over here by TibZ on top of that defensive tower. Maybe not wanting to deal with that, which... that would be pretty good for TibZ to grab, especially because he's been on his back foot, and his opponent has been pushing out some of these harder hitting units, but it doesn't look like TibZ is going to let Noav get in there.
Yeah, and it looks like both players are trying to scout out their opposing member. We have a Pitbull going on here, and we have 2 Confessor Cabals here on the other side. It's a pretty slow start, I feel. We have 1 buggy getting caught by the Pitbull here on the top right side.
Indeed, first Pitbull is out. Raider Buggy going to run into it and try to push it way outside of the base. Cabal Confessor Squad's making their way in, doing what GDI does, but with Cabal Confessor Squad's focusing on that power plant, trying to be a bit of a pest and leaving those scouts there to do something. Pitbull actually able to kill the Raider Buggy. That usually doesn't happen as it moves its way on to the MCV of Noav. Noav not really affecting him too much, deploying about where he wanted to anyways, but both players have begun to develop their first natural expansion. Minor scouting, minor skirmishing so far. What do you think Noav's thinking? Because Noav has gone from a 2-0 lead to getting close to knocked out of the tournament.
I think at this point Noav is aware that he's probably getting baited a lot and that he's taking too long to react. He's fallen on the back foot. Maybe he's a little anxious. So he knows he needs to be faster, he needs to be reactive, he needs to be proactive, not reactive. And I think that's what he's going to be doing.
It does look like we have Noav over here with a couple of attack bikes and Raider Buggies out and ready to go, so he is already moving to that transition. Looks like TibZ has been a little bit back and hasn't been able to produce quite the number of units that I guess I normally see from him.
I believe I am unfortunately out of the game. It seems we have crashed on this side here.
Not quite sure. I think I'll just throw you a couple of softballs here for this engagement. You can always try to watch the stream and try to keep up as best you can. I think there's only a bit of a 10-second delay. A couple of tack bikes and Raider Buggies over in the northern side of the map. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Pitbull's in the south. Going to run into the attack bikes here of Noav. It looks like Noav is playing a little bit more defensively this time around, which he needs to. He needs to be cautious because TibZ has been able to produce his forces. And it looks like they've done a little bit of switch up here, because if I remember correctly, in the previous games, TibZ was, let me see, yeah, TibZ was actually playing Nod, so they've gone from faction to faction, one going Steel Talons this time around, and the other one going Black Hand, mixing things up, and TibZ's taking a note there from Noav's book, producing a healthy number of these Pitbulls. First engagement has begun, and it looks like Noav does not want it whatsoever. Right now, they're sort of sharking each other, looking for something to grab, as it looks like the concave is here for the Pitbulls. Pitbulls get their shots off and do back their way out. Pitbull into all of these bike and buggies. It looks like a couple of tanks are going to join the fray here. What does Noav need to do in order to crack the nut, you feel, that is TibZ, especially because he switched over to Steel Talons?
So I think he's going to go for maybe vehicles like Titans. He's probably going to try to also have a lot of Wolverines. Those are really good against infantry. So I do believe those with MRTs are usually what you want to do against a Black Hand player.
I think you're a little far away from your mic, Alex. You keep cutting in and out a little bit.
So I was just saying, that as a Steel Talons player, when you're playing against Black Hand, usually you'll want to mix in your different mechs. So you'll maybe want to have some Titans with some Wolverines, because Wolverines are really good against infantry, and throw in some MRTs to repair and keep those fully healed. And yeah, and Behemoth later in the game with some infantry in there.
Pitbull's moving their way in, taking a couple of shots, using their volleys. They are prepared now, but they do not want this full assault just yet. He's happy with just his skirmishing, and indeed he is dwindling and whittling down the forces of Noab. Noab not able to get in time despite having a little bit of the faster units minus the Scorpion tanks, but these Pitbulls have been doing a great back and forward action of picking off units here and there. Here they go, moving in to kill another Scorpion tank. They do manage to get the kill and back their way out, maybe able to save all of the units, not taking really any losses whatsoever. Tibzy very much so warmed up and in top form, building plenty of Titans over here on the left-hand side of the map. No Wolverines just quite yet, so it would be nice to see a little more man spam flame tank in the mix of the forces of Noab. Noab trying to get a little bit of an advantage, maybe move his units to the north and move his flame tank to the south. That does appear to be what he is doing. Pitbulls are in the north looking for something to snack on, looking for a couple of more targets to grab. Tibzy still playing cautious. Noab finally going on the aggression, moving into his opponent's base. Titans are here. If he's not careful, though, he can run into all of his. It looks like Tibzy is once again trying to bait his opponent in. Manspan making their way in. There are a couple of Wolverines and Watchtowers on the front line here for this. I think whoever wins this assault is going to win the game because they're going to be down a lot of resources. Assault might begin here in earnest as Wolverines have begun to engage their opponent. Titans are here on the good concave. Pitbull's making a couple of really good shots over here. The real kicker is going to be dealing with all of this infantry, but I think there's plenty of Wolverines here to knock all of this down. Plenty of Titans here to deal with the armor. I think Tibzy has the answer to a lot of this. He does have the defender's advantage, but however, these units are starting to focus fire on all the Wolverines. Wolverine after Wolverine does get taken down. Titan goes down. Things might be looking grim here for Tibzy. However, the forces are beginning to dwindle for his opponent. It looks like the onslaught has slowed down quite significantly. The defender's advantage in full effect. Flame tank moving in, trying to get a construction yard, but just not quite able to get it. Tibzy's defenses are just too tight. Noab is now in full, complete retreat. He's got to save all of those units, and he's going to go from aggressor to aggressed here rather quickly.
That was a good push. That was a good pushback, actually, from Tibzy's side. We're seeing those infantry and tanks come in to try to repel the attack. And given the amount of infantry here, 3 Wolverines aren't going to be just enough right now to pull back. And he's going to probably want to sacrifice those, as we see now. He sacrificed those to hold the advance back a little bit while he can just replenish his anti-force.
This game can still go either way, and another item of note I think that's important to keep track of is Tibzy has not moved on to his natural expansion, his secondary natural expansion. He's been chewing on that first one for quite some time and doing quite well with all of that, but he does need to make that push here soon, otherwise he's going to run into a bit of an economic disparage, discrepancy between him and Noab. Does look like War Factory, or Air Factories, are, I'm sorry, with a couple of Rifleman squads are going to be the name of the game for maybe these anti-infantry field. And we do have a Purifier out here for Noab as well. Forces for Tibzy are looking quite anemic. He really needs to move over to the south, maybe send some scouts there or something to scout it out, because he's hurting on resources. Maybe he's worried about his construction yard because it's half HP, but I feel like that's definitely going to be a major point of contention.
Yeah, I think he's also really scared right now to get caught off, knowing that this is the last match. If he gets caught off base here, he's going to the south, trying to keep his MCV defended, and then his opponent is going to attack his main base. I think that's what he's worried about. So he's taking the risk. He's sending the MCV down, as we can see right now, all while there's a push coming for his base. Is that MCV going to get scattered and destroyed?
Mantis catching a couple of these hammerheads in a really unfortunate position as 3 hammerheads go down, and actually Tibzy throws in the towel. He gives up. Losing those hammerheads definitely really critical there. I'm not sure if that was tilt or what that was. Either way, he threw in the towel and he's knocked out of the tournament. That means that Noab, who I felt was very much so the underdog for that match, is actually going to progress. Sorry to cut you off there, Alex. Just needed to catch that moment.
No, absolutely no problem there. So yeah, if we can, if we look at the resources, even then, Noav was really ahead. I don't know if there's much that Tibsy could have done to catch up to him at this point. I think he really needed to get that MCV out much faster into the second expansion, and I think that's why his forces were, as you were saying, quite anemic at this point.
Welcome to match number 2, round 1 on the map Tiberium Highlands. Starts over in the top right-hand corner of the map, wearing the green robes, playing the scrin. This is to Chronos? Trachanos?
That is correct. I believe it is Trachanos. Yeah.
Trachanos. There we go.
And in the left side, we have another purple another screen player. This time in purple, Rex. Very interesting, a screen versus screen matchup.
Don't get to see that mirror match too often, and we have a sponsor for Tournament Highlands. Tournament Highlands is brought to you by Resource Cap Retirement Fund, saving you from late game disappointments. Rex is a player I don't get to cast too often. I think I only have maybe one game of his. I've only seen a couple of his games through Cybert, so he's an unfamiliar player to me. And to Chronos, am I saying that right? Or to...
Yeah, I think you are.
Or we'll just go with to Chronos, or I'll just call him Chronos to make it easier. I know I'm saying that part right. But Chronos is also another player I'm unfamiliar with. Rex I've seen a little bit of, but I've seen nothing of Chronos whatsoever. Actually getting a little bit of descent rush over here in the north over here. It does look like Chronos descent, at least 2 descents that direction, is making its way down south into his opponent's base, something to keep an eye on. A couple of buzzer squads did get the scouting off, so they're going to see what is already there, and if they're not careful, if Rex is not careful, he's going to run into a bit of trouble with these harvesters. However, he does have a buzzer squad here, and for some reason he's choosing not to engage those disintegrators. He's got to protect his harvesters, because if those disintegrators get close, they're going to do a good chunk of damage to the harvesters, especially if it's got full Tiberium there. They're doing a little bit of damage, not quite as much as they needed to. Buzzer squad's moving its way in, able to get at least one of the squads down. That should save a little bit of the damage. Nothing really to deal with them just quite yet. No buzzer squads out in the front line, so that harvester may go down for free. It did deposit its load of Tiberium, but it's going to make its way around on the other side of the warp sphere, playing Ring Around the Rosie, saving itself from that disintegrator.
And that Gunwalker is definitely going to take those disintegrators down, and that's going to be the end of those disintegrators. Boy.
Good boy, Gunwalker getting its first snack for the game, and hopefully a pat on the head there by Rex. Always doing a good job. Always nice to see them getting their first snack over on the right-hand side. It looks like Chronos is producing a couple of Seeker Tanks, so that is going to be his transition here. I haven't really seen any... I don't think I've seen too many Scrin v Scrin, like specifically Scrin v Scrin mirror matches, so I'm curious to see how things are going to fold. A good boy Gunwalker is going to get targeted down and probably destroyed here by these Seeker Tanks on their way to the grocery store. They're not even paying attention to it whatsoever. I think that is worse than dying to them.
Alright, so he's just going to pick off and do a little bit of damage here and there as he just passes by. But I think his main goal was to harass that harvester that was in the blue tip field. Those Seekers came in, and he's going to try to hold off now.
Sorry about that. I forgot to pop up my scoreboard on the proper one, so I had the previous scoreboard up. Seeker Tank is going to destroy Seeker Tank over in the southern section of the map, but not too much to write home about. Only a couple of them died, and I think only a few of them by Chronos there took a couple of shots. Multiple disintegrators out here are going to be good into the Seeker Tanks of their opponent. Seeker Tanks are going to try and chase down this Harvester. Harvester might be in a little bit of a bait as disintegrators move their way in, taking a couple of really good shots off on the Seeker Tank. Seeker Tank does get destroyed. A couple of Buzzer Squads are going to move their way in, get a couple of really good shots off on those units. More disintegrators are going to get targeted by Buzzer Squads as they make their way across the map, trying to kill that Harvester. Just not able to keep up the disintegrators just quite yet. as soon as Rex produces these disintegrators, they just get destroyed by these buzzer squads over and over and over. Losing those has got to definitely sting. He needs to send something in there in order to support his units. He's got to get a Gunwalker or something. Harvester is finally going to get targeted down. It's less than half HP. Going to go down here soon in a minute. Those buzzer squads still uncontested. Nothing to deal with them just quite yet, as they've killed so many disintegrators for Rex. Rex has got to be hurting in resources from losing all those units almost for free, especially because these Seeker tanks are still here and they're still dealing damage. Still no answer here for these buzzer squads. Buzzer squads are absolutely dominating. We do have a Mechapede here, but I think that's too little too late. You got to deal with these buzzer squads. Get one Gunwalker out or something. A lightning spike out on the front line to deal a little bit of extra damage and to keep stuff in Kronos' favor. Mechapede not facing the right direction, taking a couple of shots directly to its face, but it is going to be able to kill the Seeker tank. Disintegrators finally getting a kill on that lightning spike shield upgrade over here for Seeker tanks. Seeker tanks engaging Mechapedes over in the southern section of the map. 2 Mechapedes versus 4, now 3, maybe 2, now 1 of these Seeker tanks. The shields are nice, but they're not going to help against 2 Mechapedes. The Mechapedes just have too much firepower as they chase down that last Seeker tank.
So yeah, unfortunately, 3 of those Mechapedes is plenty enough to take out whatever Rex has left. So right now I would be really worried about that coming from my base. But we're seeing that's not necessarily the case here. Rex is attacking with disintegrators again. There's those Seekers as well. I don't know if I would have necessarily sacrifice those Seekers, but right now we're also seeing Mechapedes in his main base as well.
He's definitely in a bit of damage. Kronos seems to be losing Harvester after Harvester, as his assault is still uncontested. He has not responded in time. It looks like Rex has been a little bit more on the spot. There is an Eradicator Hexapod being produced over there in the background, probably a little too soon, in my opinion, for that. Mechapede into Mechapede. 1 Mechapede, 4 each are going to go down, but there's only 2 left here for Rex. Rex's forces are looking in quite a dire spot, and there it is. He's thrown in the towel, giving the first round to Rex.
Yeah, so unfortunately, trying to go for that Hexapod at that moment was a bad decision in my opinion, because if you don't have 2 fully, let's say fully harvested tid fields, if you have, meaning 5 harvesters per tid field, it's going to really ruin you economically. You're not going to be able to hold off an attack, and as we can see, this is what happened right here. Also throwing in all of those disintegrators, that was several $1,000s worth of disintegrators, really put it back foot as well.
Here we are on the map, Arabian Oasis. Over in the bottom right-hand side of the map, playing the purple in the nod, this is Rex.
And in the top left corner, playing the screen, we have Trakinos in blue this time.
Kronos was faring quite well, I feel, in the beginning, but he fell apart rather quickly. I think Rex was just too all over the place for him. He produced too many Mechapedes, and I actually thought that Rex was going to lose that one, sort of in general, because of all of the disintegrators he lost, but I guess they served their purpose. I mean, 1 second, I'm updating my map in the background. Nope, that's incorrect. Rex has the first points.
Yeah, so that was surprising, despite the misplay over there with all those disintegrators. He managed to catch up. I guess focusing on the right thing at the right time can really help you. And this was the case here. I'm surprised to see that many Mechapedes. I know players usually don't like to use more than 3 Mechapedes at a time for furnace concerns, especially in Kane's Rat, but it seems that might not be always the case for in the case of screen versus screen matchups, maybe.
Well, and Rex seemed to use them quite well. His opponent Kronos had a couple of Mechapeds up a little bit sooner than Rex himself, but I think he microed them not quite as well. He didn't, because when you have Mechapeds in, the Mechapeds are supposed to face their butt towards the enemy so they can't take shots to the head. And there was a couple of fights there where Kronos was not able to do that. Not able to get that micro down. Because while Kane's Wrath is a little bit more micro heavy, or macro heavy, it also still favors macro or micro. You know, especially with those Mechapeds and a couple other forces. And if you watch a player like Dutch Army, who's primarily a Red Alert 3 player, you can see what can really be done with the microing, especially at these higher skill levels. Drone ship is making its way over to the first natural expansion for both players. Looks like Rex has moved over in his first natural expansion as well. Item of note, the secondary Tiberium field, the second natural expansion, is one that grows over time, so it's not set up entirely, and there is a set of blue Tiberium for both players to fight over. Typically, I see this map really only go into the first Tiberium field, and usually someone gets an advantage from there, so let's see if these players make me a liar. Interesting choice, though, by both players. Sorry about that, Alex. Interesting choice by both players. It looks like they both decided to grab their EMP control centers. I guess it is right there, and it can make a difference, especially with these tight corners, but we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very useful against vehicle armies. And right now, both players are playing vehicle-centric forces, I would say. So we're not seeing Black Hand or, let's say, Traveler. But so our blue player, Trakenos, trying to go for that EMP control center, knowing that it will hurt him in the long run, but not being able to get it out because of the Scorpion tanks coming in.
And one thing you can do with Tiberium spikes and a couple other of the EMP control centers like that is when you attack them, your opponent's going to want to defend them a lot of times, so you can use that as a way to bait them. Secret Tank's getting a couple of kills on Scorpion Tanks over on the right-hand side of the map. They're going to get some much-needed gains, but it looks like Rex is going to entirely ignore him as he moves his Scorpion Tanks inside of Kronos' base. Kronos' Harvesters are in danger, but the assault is also beginning on Rex's base as Rex loses one Harvester, and as Kronos gets really close to losing a Harvester over there, he needs to prepare a little bit of defense. There's the EMP. They're catching all of the Secret Tanks. Massive EMP, giving the Scorpion Tanks time to make their way in and saving these Harvesters. Secret Tank after Secret Tank does get destroyed, and it looks like the same thing is happening over there inside of Kronos' base as he pushes out the Scorpion Tanks that made their way inside of his not only natural expansion but old main base as well. Both assaults have begun to wind down and dwindle down each other's forces over time.
That is a surprising amount of Seekers, so when you see a player overextend like this into building tanks a lot, what you'll want to do is react by building infantry, and if Trakenos is aware of the amount of tanks he's played with right now, I would bet he's probably going to try to build anti-infantry just to catch his opponent off guard.
Do you have a nerve control center out here for the Scrim player over in the north? Looks like maybe one upgrade managed to make its way out. I'm not as familiar with the Scrim upgrades, so I cannot predict those as maybe I should. Lightning Spike is inside of Rex's base, destroying that refinery. That's definitely going to be pesky to deal with.
Right, and the only good thing that can deal, the only good unit that can deal with that is an artillery or long-range unit, because tanks are not really that good against the Lightning Spike's armor, unfortunately.
EMP is out, but it's only going to catch 2 Scorpion Tanks as the assault begins in earnest as Rex begins to roll his way into his opponent's base. There is the first Storm Column out for the defense. A couple of Disintegrators moving their way in. Few Devourer Tanks here, but they are not charged up. They are beginning to charge up over time. That does push out the forces of Rex. Rex was looking in a good position until that Storm Column came down, and those Devastator warships, or those Devourer warships, I should say, or Devourer tanks, are out filling up a little bit with Tiberium. Rex looking for greener pastures is going to make his way around down over to the left-hand side of the map, or at the very least try to group his forces and keep his opponent guessing.
I'm surprised that both players are just focusing on vehicle armies, but Trakenos has built a few disintegrators to catch those Scorpion tanks off guard, and seems to have paid off in that defense as well as with that tower.
And it looks like Trakenos has transitioned over into tripods as well. It looks like he's got 3 or 4 out and ready to go already. 2 upgrades here for the Scorpion tanks, a dozer and a laser upgrade as they move their way in. So far, they're unguarded. Might actually be able to get a couple of harvesters here if they focus their fire just quite yet. 1 harvester does go down. Drone ship does have to back its way out as the Annihilator tripod makes its way in. It is going to get targeted down by those lasers as one of the Scorpion tanks does get an upgrade there for it. There's the 1 click out. They're saving the majority of the harvesters for Trakenos. Scorpion tank still uncontested over here, taking a couple more shots off at the tripods. Tripods just cannot catch a break. Storm Column finally getting targeted by Black Hand Squads. Things are looking quite grim over here for Kronos as they target the Warp Sphere. Massive EMP, not only hitting the harvesters, but hitting plenty of buildings and hitting these Annihilators tripods. I think that's the last lifeline there for Kronos. Kronos is going to be quite some danger. He's still producing a couple of these Annihilator tripods, but they're getting annihilated just as soon as they pop their way out. Drone platform is now getting targeted, and it looks like Kronos has thrown in the towel, giving Rex another round.
So that was really surprising, doubling down on those tanks and the upgrades. I think ultimately was surprisingly the right choice for Rex, because it seems to have won the game.
You knew you were going to see it. Welcome back to Tournament Odyssey. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, rocking the purple, playing the nod, this is Rex.
And in the lower left-hand corner, we have the Teal GDI, or Steel Talons player,
Kronos. Kronos Trakenos,
as we like to call him.
I'm just going to call him Kronos because I know I'm at least saying that part correctly. Kronos does need to step things up if he's not going to get knocked out of this tournament. I don't think Rex is going to let him, but who knows? Everybody makes mistakes, especially during tournaments, especially when you are on the spot. So there is a non-zero chance that Rex can go from winning to a reverse snowball. Only time will tell how that boils down, though. How do you feel about traditional nod into Steel Talons, Alex? Any key items of notes?
So Steel Talons is really good mechs. Their main battle tank, which is the Titan, is really good against Scorpions. I think that may have been the reason why Trakenos decided to go Steel Talons. He decided that probably Scorpion spam of nod players is an annoyance, so he'll want to counter it more appropriately. So usually you can, what you can do is build MRTs, throw in rocket squads, and build a few Titans, and that's very good against most of the tank armies anyone can throw at you.
Second refinery and third harvester is over here out for the Cyan player, who of course is Kronos. Over in the top right hand corner, it looks like his opponent is following in suit. Rex has looks like 2 refineries and 3 harvesters out, is beginning to develop his first natural expansion, just a little bit ahead of Kronos. Rex appearing to be a little more practiced for this tournament, a little bit more ready for it in general. Watchtower is out for Kronos and does get sold off in order to kill the scouts there for his opponent. But the important thing is it looks like we're finally getting some scouts from Kronos inside of the Nod player's base. If you're facing Nod, typically you've got to get that scouting off because they always have that potential to get that super quick rush off. Not that the GDI faction and Scrin factions can't do it, but Nod is really set up for it, and a lot of times it seems to be their whole thing.
Right, and I think he's really gonna dig into that to that main base as well. So he's, and by he I mean our Steel Talon players,
I
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not brought up along some rocket troops to harass those harvesters as well. I do see that sometimes, especially when they go for the expansion, is throw in a rocket squad as well, just so you can harass the harvesters.
Scorpion tanks are out for Rex over on the right-hand side. Maybe he's expecting a little bit more defense. Pitbull's moving their way in on actually on the first natural expansion, focusing down one of those harvesters. Harvester down to half HP. Scorpion tanks moving their way in. Might be here just in time. It looks like Chronos can't focus fire where he needs to be. He's gotten 2 harvesters down to half HP and not destroyed one of them. Lost a Pitbull there. Now down to 4 Pitbulls. The Scorpion tanks now begin to take more and more shots off at these Pitbulls. Pitbulls in an unfortunate path, trying desperately to reverse move out of there, but a good chunk of them are going to go down.
And unfortunately, Trakenos is going to have to pull back here. He just doesn't have the firepower to match those Scorpion tanks, and those Scorpion tanks are coming straight for him. Seeing some rocket squads here in the main base as well. And the main base, sorry, the expansion for Trakenos, getting ready to defend against that tank army.
I'm always a big fan of seeing rocket squads when you're expecting armor on their way. I don't feel like it gets built quite as much, but at least Chronos has managed to make that transition into it. The real problem is going to be dealing with these militant squads. Militant squads need to go down. They are taking a couple of shots there from the rocket squads, and they will be able to die slowly but surely. Watchtower should be able to finish them off, but Scorpion tanks for Rex are moving over into the southern section, looking for something to snack on, but deciding to back off instead. Rex dealing with some of his own troubles on the top right-hand corner of the map, pushing out some of the forces there that Chronos was able to sneak in there. I'm not sure what it was, but it was probably a pit bull or 2.
So yeah, an army of 3 or 4 pit bulls, I believe, tried to take out a harvester. Almost took it out. Left it with like something like 10 health, and unfortunately managed to survive. So that that pit bull force was unfortunately not very useful in the end. But it seems that currently Trakenos is on his way to defending pretty well.
Rex moving his way in with a couple of Raider buggies to start taking out these rocket squad. Scorpions trying to move their way in, get a couple of crushes. They need to move across a good chunk of them in order to get them. Raider buggies should be able to push them up. That's going to save them a little bit of time, but I think the majority of the Scorpion tanks are going to get taken down by this. No, actually, the Raider buggies are coming out on top. Still 4 Scorpion tanks left. 1 Watchtower is the only thing here for the defense. It looks like the majority of the forces, the tanks, are in an appropriate position, not in a good enough spot there for it. Watchtower is going to get targeted down for some reason by the Raider buggies. I'm not sure I'd want to take that assault, as all of the Raider buggies do go down almost for free as the Predator tanks just roll right into them and destroy them. Rex having to completely reverse move. Pitbull's over in the northern section of the map, focusing on one of the harvesters, getting it down extremely close to 0 HP. There it goes. It does finally get taken down. Does look like Chronos finally getting a little bit of victory. Is he going to be able to do a bit of a reverse sweep over here on Rex? Rex is in danger, and he hasn't responded to this assault inside of his base. Harvester going down once again. That's a second Harvester going down almost for free. Scorpion tank has popped its way down, but it looks like Chronos might actually get some really good gains here from these pit bulls as the pit bulls take down a 3rd Harvesters. No!
So the Scorpion laser upgrade has just gone by as well, and right now we're seeing that Scorpion take out 2, 3 potentially Harvesters. Yes, that's 3 Harvesters taken out on Trakenos' side.
I actually missed that on my end, those units moving their way in. It looks like he's been able to even things up because about 3 Harvesters died on Rex's side as well, so he turned that into a little bit of gain for himself as well. First stealth tank is out. No Tib core missiles just quite yet, but he just spent a lot of money on the upgrades for the lasers and the dozer. Looks like Hammerhead's over here on the front line, but it does look like the stealth tanks are going to take a couple of really good shots off on them, pushing them back, but they did manage to make it out alive at the very least. Predator tanks moving their way into the center of the map. This could still go either way, but I think the forces favor Rex just a little bit better.
Yeah, so right now, Rex has the numbers advantage, but I'm not sure what Trakenos is going to do right now. Seems to be splitting his tanks. Is he panicking? Is he thinking right now? Takes too long though. I think he's going to be at a real disadvantage here.
Stealth tanks picking off one of the Predator tanks on their way out. More Scorpion tanks moving their way inside of his opponent. Another 3 moving their way in. Maybe getting one of these Harvesters. Harvester 1 shot left. You might as well continue the assault on it. And no, Rex does not commit. He does not get that Harvester. That unit was already dead. He may as well try to destroy it. Scorpion tanks now moving over on the left-hand side of the map into the old main base there of his opponent. Refinery down to very, very little HP. Scorpion tanks should be able to wrap it up rather quickly. There it goes. Probably going to focus on the War Factory here rather quickly. One Pitbull did produce out, but it is in an unfortunate position. So far, Rex not focusing fire on too much. Is going to take out the War Factory. Probably going to go for the Refinery here. Does look like the AP Hammerheads have moved their way in, and so far there's no defense for this air as the Hammerheads begin to pick off Scorpion Tank after Scorpion Tank. Stealth Tanks are going to be here for the defense, moving their way in. I think they do have tip core rockets, so they're going to do a good amount of splash damage as all of the Hammerheads do get taken down, and there goes the advantage for Kronos. Kronos wasn't a good spot, but he took too long to do that. He took too long to group his forces. His tanks never seem to be in the appropriate spot, and Rex is attacking from multiple different angles. There's 2 avatars over on the right-hand side, cutting off that secondary natural expansion.
Right, so right now what Trakonos needs to do is he needs to get another expansion. He's delayed that for far too long, I think. So if he doesn't do it right away, doesn't defend against those avatars, I think it's going to be game for him. It seems to be headed that way. He's not sure if he wants to engage with those tanks. That's all he has right now. Seeing those avatars come in, I think he's going to want to focus on those avatars instead. But that's a great time for Rex to take advantage of the chaos and snipe his construction yard, airfield, and tech center. Sorry, those tanks just went down. That was a great use of the vein hole detonation power.
It looks like 2 of the avatars did go down, but like you said there, the one rocket did do a decent job at taking a little bit of damage. A couple of Venoms here. It looks like Rex is going to turn the tables and get his own air forces over here. AA turret is finally out. That should be able to help push those out, but it doesn't matter because the Scorpion tanks are here, and I'm not sure Kronos has much left in the gas tank as he keeps losing Harvester after Harvester and unit after unit, and his units never seem to be in the appropriate spot. It might be because they're already taken out. It might be because they're already destroyed. Either way, the majority of his units are hurt as avatars move in. I think this is the final nail in the coffin for Kronos. I'm not sure what he can do, and indeed he does throw in the towel. He does call the GG, giving Rex another win.
Right, so I think a lot of indecision here, not expanding quickly enough to the third base was ultimately he couldn't keep up the momentum that he had early on, so Trakonos just ended up stuck near the end, got defeated.
Here we are on Tournament Highlands on match number 3. Over in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, sporting the green, playing the scrin, this is Kronos.
And in the upper left corner, we have Fate Zero in orange as our GDI, or Gear Talons in this case, player.
Back on Arabian Oasis. Arabian Oasis is actually sponsored by, a quick reminder, Chronosphere, the only app and website monitoring platform that lets you hover like disappointed parents. Traditional starts for both players. It looks like we may have this a little bit out of order here because I think Kronos was knocked out in the last one. Either way, it doesn't matter. Worst case scenario, I can fix it in post. Massive amount of scouting out here for Fate Zero not wanting to be caught unawares. Buzzer Squad out for Kronos. Hopefully Kronos fares a little bit better. It doesn't look like he had he was able to do too much into Rex, so hopefully we'll get to see him fully blossom and do better in this game. And actually, speaking of, give me one moment, I got to reset scoreboard and everything. There we go, match number 3. Buzzer Scout's getting a good handle on Fate Zero's forces over in the north, and it looks like Fate Zero's doing the same to his opponent. Both players doing a fantastic job of scouting each other, or I guess the reverse can be said to where They haven't been doing a good job of destroying each other's scouts and sort of just letting them roam free, and that does appear to be the case, at least on Kronos's side. Fate Another Buzzer Hive does pop its way down. Rifleman squads do take a couple of shots, killing one of the Buzzer squads, but it doesn't matter because the other one does get close as the drone ship lifts up and moves into its natural expansion, just a little bit behind the orange player, just a little bit behind Fate Zero, but nothing to write home about just quite yet. So far, what I said in the previous time we ran into this map, it does look like this game mostly ends when you get to this first natural expansion. No one really gets to the regrowth too much, especially with the small size of the map. I know some of the more advanced players seem to really favor the smaller maps because they feel like the units count even more, so they're extra critical, so a little bit more maybe on the red alert side. Couple of MRTs are out here by Fate Zero. Nothing in them just quite yet. Probably going to do a little bit of harassing, but there's only so much they're going to be able to hit with.
No, actually, I believe I did see at least one get rocket troops inside, so these might be loaded up, actually. Yeah, these are actually loaded up with rocket troops. So I think we're going to be seeing some Harvester harassment in the expansion. Popping in just at the right time is that Scrin Harvester. Minefield as well.
Is able to dodge the minefield, but it does have to stop harvesting in total, because something that you got to keep in mind too is you don't necessarily have to destroy a harvester to deny its resources. Secret Tank's moving in on Fate Zero, body block there by the power plant, trying to save this heavy harvester, which is taking a lot of damage. Disintegrators moving their way in on those MRTs. MRTs do not want to get close to those Secret Tanks, continuing the assault on the harvester, getting a little bit of much needed revenge on Kronos. Is going to turn in probably into a little bit of a base race over here, as the MRTs have to back their way out, and there's not really an answer just quite yet to the Secret Tanks. There's one Titan, but it's going to take a little bit to start destroying these units, as it looks like one Harvester does finally get taken down. Secret Tanks, Secret Tanks not able to focus their fire where they need to. But they might still get one of these harvesters here for Fate Zero. Fate Zero does indeed lose a harvester, and Kronos is pushing out Fate Zero over inside of his base. Only 4 Secret Tanks are remaining. For some reason, this Titan is playing a little ring around the rosies over here, not able to move in a good slot, as one more harvester goes down full of Tiberium. Titan goes in for the crush, getting 2 of the Secret Tanks, leaving only 2 of them remaining, but I think the damage is already dealt. MRT's moving their way in on his opponent's base, but not finding the same kind of success as these Disintegrators are going to do a good chunk of damage. MRT's doing a bit of a fighting retreat. Secret Tank is still inside of Fate Zero's base. Fate just not having really anything to stop this. This has got to be infuriating, and this might cost him the game, especially if he keeps losing Harvester after Harvester.
And seeing as how he sold off that barracks from earlier on, he does not have the ability to send in maybe some rocket squads. He would be able to load up his harvesters with rocket squads to defend against the remaining Seeker. I think that would have gone very handy earlier on. He's forced to sell off his refinery, and I think he might be able to hold that off if he builds a Titan here. But if he doesn't, he might have to sell off his second refinery as well.
Lightning Spike's also got to be something to deal with. The Secret Tank is still not down, and most importantly, that Tiberium is going unharvested for the most part. I guess there is one harvester left, but not sure what all it's going to be able to do. It's going to take a good chunk of damage from this Lightning Spike. It does look like he was able to sneak a little bit of Tiberium there over where he needed, and it's probably going to turn into a little bit of a lifeline for him. Secret Tank's moving their way inside the first natural expansion there for Fate Zero. Fate Zero is able to hold. He's got a couple of these Titans out and ready to go already, but we do have T3 over here for Kronos. So Kronos has got something cooking up in the background.
Right, and we're seeing Wolverines finally come up. Those are really, really good at Disintegrators, so right now these Scrin players should not be too focused on building infantry. And you should be focusing fire on those
Massive, massive EMP there by Fate Zero as Fate Zero just walks in on his opponent's forces. That's going to destroy the majority of these, and that means that Fate Zero is going to be absolutely freed up to push his way into his base. He may have made up some of those gains or some of those losses that he made from losing those harvesters by catching those units, and now he can move his way into his opponent's base. This could turn things away, but the Annihilator Tripod does pop out at just the perfect time, and we have no idea where that EMP is for Chronos.
And that was a great timing actually for those tripods. He's gonna probably try to snipe those Titans with it. We're seeing him take out 2 at this point. Mammoths are gonna be the transition here for Fate Zero.
And those will fare a little bit better into those Annihilator Tripods. First Annihilator Tripod is getting focused down, but is going to take a couple of shots off with it. There's the massive EMP hitting the majority of the forces. It looks like tables have turned. EMP has been on Fate Zero as it looks like the Annihilator Tripods make their way in, trying to go for the crush for a couple of units here and there, but not able to find it. Mammoth Tank finally going down. So much damage has been dealt to Fate Zero. Annihilator Tripod does get taken out, but the damage is dealt. There's the first shield upgrade there for the tripods, which are going to make this victory just a little bit sweeter, going to make this defense a little bit sweeter and keep his opponents out of the center of the map, while it looks like Chronos is doing a good job of harvesting most of that blue Tiberium, get himself a much-needed infusion of resources.
Right, and right now you'll want to keep that Mammoth Tank away from those tripods, as 2 tripods are easily going to match a Mammoth Tank, but 2 or 3 mammoths are going to be able to push back. With those MRTs, they should be repairing those mammoths, although that's not what's going to be happening here.
Tripod's getting a 1-click and going for the crush on the harvester, going for the throat, going for Fate Zero's economy. Fate Zero is going to end up in an unfortunate position if he does nothing about this, but it's going to be hard to deal with these Annihilator Tripods because not only are a couple of them already set up over here, he is going for what ones he can deal damage to, and he does have a couple of railguns upgrades, which could make a bit of a difference, and there is a AP watchtower here, so they might actually be able to catch a couple of these tripods. This game seems to be bouncing back and forward, but I think it's favoring Chronos for the moment. Fate Zero doesn't seem to be able to catch a break from this. More tripods moving inside of Fate Zero's bases on top of a couple of assimilators there in the background. Assimilators grabbing one of the tripods, popping it back up with half HP and 1 shield that is going to take a good chunk of damage from these Mammoth Tanks. Mammoth Tanks are going to get focused down. One does go down, and it looks like another one is going to move directly back into the Annihilator Tripod, popping it up once again, destroying more and more Mammoth Tanks. Mammoth Tanks are in danger. There's 3 tripods here against 1 Mammoth Tank. Annihilator Tripods are not going to let their opponent get away. There is a good EMP there, locking down at the very least 2, maybe, no, actually just 1 of these Annihilator Tripods. 1 does get taken down. 1's EMP'd, so only 1 is dealing damage just quite yet. Second one does go down as things are beginning to peter out, but it looks like Chronos is going to continue the assault, going to continue the reinforcements into his opponent's base as 1 Annihilator Tripod is actually focusing on the construction yard of Fate Zero over on the right-hand side. Fate Zero just cannot catch a break. He cannot get off of his back foot.
So I believe one of the undocumented abilities of tripods is that they are more resistant to EMP, meaning if they get EMP, they will stay disabled for less longer than other units. Because as we saw there, they went back pretty fast again.
They did seem to pop back rather quickly. Fate Zero did grab one of the Annihilator Tripods of his opponent, so hopefully that'll be able to tip the scales, but still, he's just going to have so many problems with resources. He does sell off a refinery over on the right-hand side. I don't know how much of a lifeline he really has left, and there it is. He's thrown in the towel, giving the first point to Chronos.
Right, so that was a really relentless screen assault. Draconos did not let up, and he managed to really hold off against Fate Zero. That was impressive.
Let's see if he can keep up those plays in round number 2. Give us one moment, we switch maps. Here we are back on a familiar map. This is Tournament Odyssey. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the blue, not wanting to stick to one color. This is Chronos.
And at the bottom left corner, we have our Steel Talons player, Fate Zero, this time donning the yellow color.
Both
Oh,
players
that is
wanting
a lot of infantry.
Both players wanting to make my scoreboard an absolute lie. Speaking of, Chronos is 1-0 on Fate Zero for the current moment. Give me 1 second as I put on lossless scaling. I think what we did miss in the background, Alex was saying there's a couple of infantry making their way over, and I will look here in a second as soon as the lossless cues in. Or it could bug out on me. No, that's not good. It might crash on me here in a minute. Either way, we're just going to play forward and see what happens. If I crash, I crash.
We're still by.
Rifleman squads moving their way over to the center of the map. They're going to run into these Cabal Kveser squads. If I remember correctly, Cabal Kveser squads do fairly well into GDI Rifleman squads, or I guess in this case Steel Talon, but it should be the same infantry.
Yeah, given the Shredder turrets just popped up here, and they really popped in just in time, only to lose power again.
Still in the scouting phase for the current moment. In the background, I'm going to try to reopen Lossless, so give me 1 second since it's bugging out on me. Does look like Fate Zero is going to deploy a couple of GDI squads inside. Probably a little bit overkill here with the 3 pillboxes. And actually, we got our first flame tank over here. First rush over here by Chronos. Is Fate Zero going to be prepared for it? Only time will tell. That flame tank is definitely something to deal with. At the very least, Fate Zero did see it because of that foxhole, because of that pillbox. So he's going to have time to prep for it. And he does have a couple of pitbulls out doing a few scouting runs looking for it. Staying on top of that will be really critical for him. He can't afford to let that flame tank get close. Probably Reckoner being produced in the background. Second flame tank is out. Reckoner is out. Probably going to get a sell-off of the Operations Center. There it is. Operations Center, 2 flame tanks, maybe 3 flame tanks, and at least 1 Reckoner. Pitbulls are going to catch the flame tank in the south, but I think that is probably what he wants. Actually, another Pitbull catching the other flame tank in the north. These flame tanks are in rather unfortunate positions. They have been spotted, they have been scouted, and it looks like the one in the south has gone down, but there's a second one going down in the south. Hopefully it can skirt its way around these Pitbulls. Flame tank still in the north. Not sure where the Reckoner ran off to just quite yet. It looks like it's in the center of the map, making its way over to the main base of Fate Zero. Fate Zero is not ready for this. He's not prepped for it. As the Reckoner gets closer and closer, Power Plant is going to pop its way out as the Reckoner moves its way in a massive, or in a really good spot there. It does get deployed, and it's going to focus on the refinery, probably taking out the refinery. A couple of Pitbulls are here to deal damage, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough to stop this Reckoner, and that Flame Tank is probably still floating around somewhere. Reckoner down to almost half HP, but so is the refinery. It could still go either way. This refinery can be taken out here. It's getting so close. It's anyone's little game here. Losing this would severely hurt. Fate Zero refinery does get taken down. Titan does make its way out, and there goes the Reckoner. But to add insult to injury, it's not over in the bottom section of the map. Flame Tank has just made its way in position. It's in a good spot to probably go for another one of these refineries, and indeed, it looks like it is going to go for that. Refinery getting targeted down. Refinery down to half HP. Nothing here to stop it just quite yet. Pitbulls are on the move, but they're too little too late. They're going to be able to stop it from dealing any more damage at the very least, though, as it gets close down to half HP. Flame Tank trying to get what gains it can. Starting to focus on that War Factory, taking it down to half HP, taking it down to a little bit less than half HP. Doing pretty well, finding amazing purchase in that unit, finding amazing worth in those units. Reckoner Rush and Flame Tanks, I think that's one of the more successful ones we've seen so far in the Chrono Strike.
And right now we're seeing that he's transitioning into Scorpion tanks, so he's dealt as much damage as he can with that Flame Tank and Reckoner Rush. Now is the time to transition as that Titan comes in just in time to get destroyed. It was a good catch.
Fate Zero losing a Titan almost for free. I don't think he was able to get any kills there from the Scorpions. It looks like Chronos is doing much better in this round into Fate Zero. Just sort of in general, he's not struggling quite as much as he did with Rex. So maybe Chronos and Fate Zero are a little bit more evened up in when it comes to skills. I've watched a good chunk of Fate Zero, but I still, Chronos is one of those wild cards for me.
Right, so Draconos seems to really be loving those Titans right now. He knows Scorpions are coming. He knows his best bet is to build Titans, as transitioning into anything else right now is going to take him too long. We see that Scorpion Strike Force coming in. Are those Titans going to hold off? Just 3, I don't think is going to be enough, but if he pulls those from his base, it's going to
Does look like one Titan is going to get taken down. Only 3 remaining, but that might be enough to fight these. And it does look like we got the upgrade in the background, Dozer upgrade, which means they're going to have a little bit extra armor. Titan after Titan does go down. Another one getting focused, but there's still a good chunk of Titans here. And Titans are going to be pretty good into Scorpion. Takes 1. Harvester does go down in the background, so that's going to be useful there for Chronos. But Fate Zero might be in trouble if his Titans do get taken down here. He does lose another one there. A couple more do join the fray. It looks like 5 in the background. Those would be super helpful here for this assault. But it looks like, nope, that's a small poultry force over there attacking Fate Zero in the north. There was just a couple of Cabal Confessor Squads. I thought he was already setting up another assault. Pitbull's taking a couple of easy pot shots off at the tanks of Chronos over in the first natural expansion.
Right, and I think if for those who noticed, some of those Scorpion tanks did not get force fired on, so we lost some shots on Scorpions, which was not an optimal trade-off. But it seems that in the end, Draconos managed to Fate Zero, sorry, managed to hold back. Draconos is coming in for the second one.
Titans are not set up in formation just quite yet. There is a Hammerhead here with no AP ammo, but at the very least it's going to be to get a chunk of free damage to the Scorpion tanks, doing a little bit more damage than probably a Venom would, and they are going to try to chase them back in the base. Hopefully it doesn't chase too far, because he probably will chase his way into anti-air. However, he does get a free kill on 1 of those Scorpion tanks. 2 of the Scorpion tanks. There are the SAM turrets. He needs to back his way out so he doesn't lose those valuable Hammerheads. Titans moving into the center of the map, trying to get that map control. Fate Zero very much so needs that. He needs to turn the tempo in his favor. He needs to keep his opponent off his base, but that could bite him in the butt, because he will no longer have defender's advantage. He'll no longer have those war factors getting repair, and we might get a good assault here too, as Fate Zero tries to group his forces. Titan versus Scorpions as they make their way in. A couple of Pipples here to pad out the numbers. I think the favor is in the Titans. However, they don't have too many upgrades. They don't have any railguns just quite yet. However, plenty of Scorpion tanks are going to get taken down. No laser upgrade there for the Scorpion tanks, and I think it looks like Fate Zero has come out on top, and still no massive answer to these Hammerheads. I say that just as he produces a healthy number of these rocket squads. Not a bad idea. Pad out your tanks with a couple of rocket squads. Will definitely be helpful, and I don't think he has enough Hammerheads to deal with all of those rocket squads just quite yet.
Yeah, and Fate's army is quite scary here. That's a lot of Titans. They're the best MBT game. Oh, and those Scorpions coming in, getting destroyed by those Hammerheads. They're getting hammered.
But couple of them are definitely going to go down for free as the Titans make their way into the into the old main base there for Chronos. Chronos looks like Fate Zero not wanting to commit to the assault just quite yet. Couple of Purifiers out over here for Chronos to mix up this formation over here. We do get our first Mantis out. It's going to move its way probably a little bit too far forward for my liking. And one thing I'm not super big fan of is it doesn't look like Fate Zero has been able to get too much scouting off on his opponents. Mantis is taking a nope, getting really close to hitting those Hammerheads. At the very least, his opponent does know them. Chronos may be putting these Mantises in an unfortunate position. If those Titans catch them, they're just going to get absolutely evaporated.
Right, so what I wanted to build up to earlier was if you're fighting off Titans or any giant tank army, what you'll want to do if you have proper counters, even if your tanks are not a direct match, you'll want to do 2 or 3 control groups and focus fire on 2 or 3 Titans, depending on the amount of counter units you have. And right now, I don't think that's necessarily what we've been seeing in this match. I could be wrong. It's hard to tell sometimes.
Fate Zero making
Right
his
now
way
it's-
into his opponent's secondary natural expansion as the assault begins in earnest. Sorry about that, Alex, but this is
ahead,
going
go
to be
ahead.
an important fight here, and it might actually turn out in Kronos' favor because there's a good number of rocket squads making their way through the south, but it looks like they're actually going to get caught by all of these hammerheads. Hammerheads doing so much damage to them, but I think there's plenty of rocket squads here to fight them. It could still go either way, but things are looking favorably in Fate's corner. Purifiers could tip the scales here, but there's still no real answer to these hammerheads. There are a couple of SAM turrets, but not enough really to write home about where did those mantises go. I think they got caught, which is going to be unfortunate. Fate Zero faring much better than he did the other round. I think at this point, this is very much his game to lose. There is the railgun there, railgun upgrade, couple of Mantis tanks there. Mantises are going to get taken down as the Titans move their way forward, knocking them out left and right. Couple of Purifiers are left. Mantis or Hammerheads moving their way in on these Purifiers who have no air defense just quite yet. Still no SAM turret close enough here to help out with any of this, and this construction yard might be in a bit of danger. Fate Zero deciding to go for it. And there it is. He's actually thrown in the towel, giving a round to his opponent, giving a round to Fate Zero.
Yeah, and that was a shame. Just a little bit more micro and researching tip core missiles. I think we've gone a long way to help Trakenos out in this final fight at his base. Fortunately, it was not meant to be.
As Alex stated before, here we are on Tournament Rifts. Over in the top right-hand side of the map, wearing the cyan robes, playing the GDI, this is Kronos.
And on the left side, playing as the red scrim, or Travel 59, if I'm not mistaken in this case. Travel 59 player, we have Fate Zero.
Give me 1 second, Commander. In the background, I'm going to update the score.
Seems
Our
we
score
have
has
a
moved
factional change.
1-1. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Seems we have a faction switch. We have a Scrin faction for Fate and a GDI faction for Trakenos. Whereas earlier it was the opposite in the first matchup, I believe.
That does appear to be correct. This is the first time Fate Zero has dipped his toe inside of one of the Scrin sub-factions, at least in this match. I haven't seen him play too much of Traveler 59 except for in 2v2v2v2s. So I don't know how his 1v1 potential is with Traveler 59. It'll definitely be a thing to watch out for and see how it unfolds and see if maybe he's a little more practiced. And then he's also into the power faction that is GDI over on the other side of the map.
Correct. And right now we're having a bit of a slow start. I think standard here on both sides. Just a tiny smidge off in timing for our sprint player, but otherwise still pretty good. We have the GDI player here seeing that sprint player has his tip spike as well, but he's just sticking around.
Natural expansion for both players are being developed as both the drone ship and the MCV make their way over to the first natural expansion. I misspoke earlier. This is not Tiberium Rift. Tiberium Rift has the space in the center with the blue Tiberium there and one secondary natural expansion for per player. Tournament Rift, which is the one that we are on, has blue Tiberium in the south, has a rift in the center splitting the map, and then has a contested set of Tiberium in the north. And that does appear to be the part for the map pull for the Chrono Strike.
Correct. I may have been the one who has induced you into this mistake. My apologies.
It's fine. I've screwed up the scoreboard either way. Gunwalker out for, it looks like I've already, they can't pick a color, so I can't remember who is who. For Fate Zero. This is actually the first set of, because I've done 3 Chrono, this is my 3rd Chrono Strike to do. And the other two waves of the Chrono Strike that I've been calling them, the players mostly stuck to the same color, but maybe I need to look at that mod that Cybert got, where it's the forced color mod, where I can just keep people the same color. It would make things a little bit less confusing, because this is definitely getting up there, and it definitely makes my map a liar. Buzzer squads are going to clear out those units inside of its garrison and pop their way in there in order to prevent it as well. Buzzer squads cannot do really anything while they're in garrison other than just occupy the spot, at least from my knowledge. APCs over here by Kronos making their way over across the center of the map. They do have rocket squads in each one of them, so we're probably going to get a little bit of harvester harassment here in a bit.
Right, and the Eastern player is bringing his gunwalkers over. I think he's expecting those to arrive at his expansion, and right there.
Fate Zero doing a good job of already pushing out this small little assault. One thing that Kronos can do is not only kill the garrison, but can start poking at that Tiberium spike. Even if you don't kill it, you might be able to force a couple of those units out. If you can catch a couple of those gunwalkers, you can tip the scales in your favor. Gunwalker making its way across the map, getting a good scout off on his opponent as the APCs move their way in, taking a couple of good shots off of the Gunwalker. Gunwalker is going to go down, but it might cost these APCs. Gunwalker's not doing a whole bunch to the APCs. They're really just here to occupy the time. It does look like we've got a couple of cultists over here. Cultists trying what they can to grab these APCs. They are going to grab one of the APCs, forcing the ejection of those rocket squads. Only one cultist left. Was able to save the unit, but maybe at the cost of another cultist moves its way in. APC now turning on APC as they have to deal damage to themselves. Airstrip is revealed. That factory is out. We did see the one click there from it, so Fate Zero does know that it's on its way. Cultists trying to grab one of these APCs, but just not quite able to grab it. They do manage to get it there. Cultists moving their way back in and out, getting a couple of these kills for free, and now that APC can be free to move upon his former controller.
That was actually a very fun and original use of these cultists. I've rarely seen that. People actually using cultists to counter APCs by ejecting the infantry and ejecting it into a minefield as well. It's a lot of mechanics one after the other. It's really fun to see it play out.
I actually missed the mines and didn't realize that that's what he was doing to hit those units inside of it. That's definitely an interesting dynamic on how that works. A couple of harvesters there for Kronos trying to make their way onto the blue Tiberium, but are going to get pushed out by the Gunwalkers. Fate Zero's making his way forward, but if he's not careful, he might overextend as these APCs with APM will make their way in, killing a couple of the cultists and making their way on these Gunwalkers. Gunwalkers are going to be able to do so much. These APCs, I think, have the advantage. However, there's a good chunk of them there that did get grabbed there. Not sure for how long or how long that ability does last. Either way, APC has to destroy APC as Kronos has to back his way out. Fate Zero. Go ahead.
It was a good game changer for that encounter. Really good way to thin out your enemy's numbers as Traveler.
Typically, Gunwalkers don't fare too well into APCs, but they did seem to do quite well there. Blink forward of the Annihilator tripod. Not sure that was worth it, or at the very least he should have done one of the ones in the back. A couple of Firehawks going over the Gunwalkers, taking a couple good shots off on them as the Predator tanks move their way in. It looks like Predator tanks do have the railgun upgrade here for Kronos. Kronos does have the defender's advantage. Lightning Spike out on the front line. One tripod does get taken down. Gunwalkers are left. A couple of cultists are going to grab a couple of snacks. Going to grab a couple of these units as it looks like things could favor Fate Zero here in a minute, but they can turn around here any moment. More and more of the units there for Kronos are going to take it. Fate Zero doing a fantastic job just taking over unit after unit, turning every advantage Kronos had against him.
That was a great use of cultists. Those tanks are really doing a lot of damage to harvesters. I think we might be seeing the end of this match here.
I'm not sure how Kronos can turn this around. It's not entirely impossible, but it is definitely going to be uphill, especially because it's going to be hurting on resources. Another Harvester getting targeted down, full of Tiberium. That's going to be a much-needed lifeline gone here as these Gunwalkers do manage to deal just enough damage. Only one Predator tank left, a couple of Cultists here left inside, and so every unit that comes out is going to get captured just like that. Devastator Warship making its way in, and there it is. He's thrown in the towel. Fate Zero getting a point off on Kronos, making our score to 1-2.
Right, so as a GDI player, when you're encountering cultists, what you want to do is get some sniper teams. They have the range and the damage to be able to snipe those cultists really, really fast. Unfortunately, that's not what we saw, and as we could see, it was pretty one-sided towards the end.
Welcome to round number 4 on Hampstead Gardens. Over in the top right-hand side of the map, switching over to blue, playing, I think this is Steel Talons. Actually, I have no idea who this is. That is Kronos.
As the GDI player. And in the lower left-hand corner, we have our Traveler 59 player, Fate Zero, in red.
Traveler 59 into traditional GDI. GDI does have a good number of forces. Those sonic weapons can be quite devastating into almost all of the units there for Traveler 59. However, Traveler 59 has a lot of tricks at its disposal. So, Alex, what do you think that we will see here from the Traveler 59 player? Because I feel like Kronos has been pretty consistent in his plays, and the games have really been determined by his opponent. So I think things are going to boil down to what Fate Zero does. What do you think he might do? What do you think his strategy might be?
So I think he saw how successful that cultist play was. I think he's going to want to see how the GDI player plays. If he's going for APCs, he's probably going to do cultists as he did the first time. I'm hoping that Trakenos picks up on it and builds some sniper teams or perhaps some hammerheads to counter that. We'll have to see how that goes, but ultimately I think, but I'm not 100% certain that cultists are going to be the name of the game here.
Gunwalker is out, which means those Rifleman squads are not going to be able to get a pillbox inside of Fate Zero's base, but they did get the scouting off, which is going to be important for them. Drone ship is making its way over there, followed shortly behind the MCV.
Right, and that MCV deploying still in the main base. I think he's going to want to build a barracks, and there it is.
Couple of rocket squads, looks like, out for Kronos. Looks like they're going to go immediately into the APC, so he's repeating the strategy that he did last time, which did have some initial success until those cultists made an appearance.
So, as we see here, the Gunwalker is going to try to scout that out, see what's going on, catches those APCs. I do believe we'll see a very quick switch to cultists. We're going to see that portal get put up really, really quick.
I think each APC did manage to get it looks like each one of them did get rockets, so it's the same strategy as last time. It can still find purchases, but, you know, like we saw, Fate Zero did have a counter for it, so if he's got a couple of scouts out and about and he can see it coming, he can definitely prep for it, because I don't think it takes too long to get those cultists out.
Yeah, and Trakenos is aware that he's probably trying to figure out what his play is here, so he's hiding those APCs by constantly keeping them moving. But it seems that the Gunwalker knows where to go. He's following them behind.
They are making their way into Fate Zero's base over time, but there's still plenty of time for those cultists to pop their way out, and Gunwalker after Gunwalker does get produced over here, but they are all over on the secondary natural expansion, maybe anticipating that's where the assault is. First, Photon Cannon is here. It's going to be able to do a good chunk of damage to these APCs, but Rocket Squads are going to do damage to them, but Rocket Squads have not been able to focus targets. One Mine Drop is out over here as APCs try desperately to put more and more mine drops on. There's still no real focus for them as they sort of hitting everything that is around them. Another photon cannon, and I think this assault might already be dead in the water. Sure, those harvesters are going to run into mines, but I'm not sure that's going to make too much of a difference as 2 APCs go down, followed by the last one. That assault was significantly less successful than the last one. We do have cultists over here on the right-hand side of the map, accompanied by gunwalkers, making their way forward, getting ready for a bit of mayhem.
All right, and let's see what on the other side we have. We have a radar command post being dropped by, and 4 predator tanks. I'm not sure.
Predator tanks will do good into the gunwalkers, but if they keep getting grabbed by the cultists, then it's going to be hard to get too much done. A couple of watchtowers out here in the front line. That is the safe bet, at least for dealing with those cultists, but they're only going to be able to do so much damage to the gunwalkers. Gunwalkers just here to supply support for these cultists. A couple cultists do get targeted down. Gunwalkers do focus fire on the watchtowers, beginning to take them out, making room for the cultists to move their way in. Cultists grabbing one of the predator tanks, now turning it on his opponent. Now they can back their way out. Another cultist can move their way in. Another predator tank does get grabbed, as it looks like Chronos just cannot keep any forces together whatsoever. Plenty of watchtowers out here on the front line, but they're focusing their damage on their own predator tanks, which are not what they want. Couple APCs out as well. Hammerheads are out as well. But I think this is Fate Zero's game to lose. He just has so many cultists. He just has so many gunwalkers. He is going to back off for whatever reason, maybe not wanting a prolonged assault. He does have a T3 in the background. He does have a gravity stabilizer, which of course is the air factory for Traveler 59 and for the Skren factions. Gunwalkers moving their way in on the base, taking a couple of pot shots off at the Predator tanks. Assault has begun in earnest. Cultists moving their way forward, capturing Predator tank, trying to run back. They do get taken out. A couple of APCs are going to get grabbed, trying to save those cultists. The cultists are going to go down left and right. Looks like APCs were definitely the answers. No sniper squads just quite yet, but the majority of the cultists did get taken down there. A couple of Ravengers here set up in the background, but you typically need 2 or 3 of them really to have anything significantly done with them, in my opinion.
Right, and we're seeing that Eradicator Hexapod being built right now. We're seeing air units getting deployed, and let's just see what he's trying to build here.
Blink forward of the Prodigy, but it gets taken down. It gets sniped by the Hammerhead. Predator tanks do seem to be the name of the game, as it looks like their advantage has gone down the tube as this Devastator warship has popped its way out. A couple more Predator tanks over here. I would be taking a couple of more shots on my way out, but maybe they're worried about... I'm not actually sure what he's worried about. So far, there's no anti-air just quite yet. I feel like Fate Zero's missed a golden opportunity to hit and soften up a lot of those Predator tanks.
Right, so these Hammerheads that we're seeing, I do believe they were good in defense to hold out against those cultists. I do believe they should have transitioned a little bit faster. Just building 2 and then installing off the airfield did just fine. Because right now I don't think with the amount of gunwalkers on the field, I don't think that'll be much use to continue.
Fate Zero destroying the war factory with these Devastator warships, now engaging the Predator tanks. Predator tanks making their way in, but there is a couple of units here to stop them. Cultists do grab one, forcing them to kill one of their own tanks, and most importantly, Eradicator Hexapod is here on the front line, which means that Fate Zero is going to get an infusion of resources for everything killed around it. Watchtower going down, giving more resources to Fate Zero. Defensive platforms and a couple of watchtowers are beginning to set up. They do have AP ammo that can make a bit of difference. Blink forward of the Prodigy, grabbing the construction yard, getting the sell-off. That might spell the doom for Chronos. Getting in there just a quick and insult to injury. There's a massive, massive one-click there, grabbing the majority of the forces. Therefore, it looks like Chronos is in massive danger, especially after losing that MCV, losing that construction yard. Hammerheads moving their way in, but gunwalkers are going to be plenty to deal with them. There's so many gunwalkers here on the front line. Predator tanks are in danger, and this is very much so Fate Zero's game to lose. I don't see how he's going to, but it's not impossible. Orcas slowly moving their way in, missing the lion's share of the gunwalkers. Eradicator Hexapod here on the front line is going to start forcing some of the gunwalkers to destroy these Hammerheads, which are the only thing that are left for Chronos. Chronos throwing in the towel, not having enough in the gas tank, while Fate Zero is beginning to build more forces up in the background.
Right, so using those hammerheads and depending so heavily on them without any infantry inside, I think was really what did our friend Chronos in. This time, I believe he panicked. He saw all the units coming. He built tanks. I'm not sure why tanks exactly. I think he was trying to get rid of the gunwalkers to complement his hammerhead army, but ultimately it just didn't work out in the end.
Welcome to match number 4, round number 1 on the map Tournament Highlands. Starting us off over the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the Cyan in the Steel Talons. This is Bike Rush Owns.
And in the slightly lower left-hand side corner, we have our yellow player, Mystic Elite, playing as the Black Hand.
Tournament Highlands is sponsored by GDI Infrastructure Group, flattening neighborhoods in the name of peace. Gonna upgrade the scoreboard here. Give me a moment.
Also, my apologies. It seems that I was wrong. It is regular Dodd and not Black Hand.
Looks like my notes did catch you up. Yeah, those are definitely militant squads, so I'm just trying to keep you on your toes. For those of you who don't know, Bike Rush is definitely one of the powerhouses for this tournament, and indeed a lot of the tournaments that he runs into. Typically, his top contenders are going to be players like Fate Zero, and Bart Jones has actually done really well in both the IES, which is one of the other tournaments hosted by Green Zero, and has done decently well in this. I did mislabel Dutch Army in my previous cast as Bike Rush, which of course was incorrect. Either way, Dutch did play really well in that round. I just happened to actually butcher his name. I think I actually messed him up twice. I called him Masterleaf, and then I called him Bike Rush, and then I never called him Dutch Army.
That tends to happen every now and then, and that's okay. We're all still learning.
Bike Rush is one of those players I'm quite familiar with. I've seen and cast a healthy number of his games. Mystic Elite is someone I don't know at all. There's been a lot of new names for me in the Chrono Clash, so I guess once people heard that Cybert was hosting a tournament and the fact that there's an $1,000 prize pool, I think everybody wanted to hop on it as quickly as they could, and indeed they have.
That's good, and I think that's going to do a lot of good for the Kane's Wrath community. It's going to inject a lot of new players. With those new players, if there's a lot of interest, it could be more tournaments, more casts, and it can grow into a much bigger thing over time.
Well, and I've actually got, on top of the Chrono Clash, I'm trying to do the IES, which is finally beginning to wrap up. I think the first quarterfinals did pop its way out, and I still haven't had time to do that one. And then on top of that, I've got another tournament hosted by Aquatech for, I don't remember what skill level Aquatech was supposed to be at, but I think it's like a good tournament. And I still got to cast all of that too, and if I remember correctly, they're completed with all of that. So I've got 3 tournaments in the background, and I think there might be another one on their way. So this is going to be a really busy month for casters and players alike. Hopefully it's going to turn out to be a good thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of matches for Kane's Wrath. It's going to be very, very interesting. Right now we're seeing an engagement, our first engagement of the match here. We're seeing those APCs with rocket troops engage those Scorpion tanks, and Scorpions have pulled back.
Bike Rush being rather confident in his APCs, able to get that Scorpion tank. He's one of these extremely practiced players where he knows things down to a T. So when he moves in for assault, typically he gets results. I'm really interested to see how Mystic Elite is going to stack up. It's going to be pretty unfortunate to run into Bike Rush early on in the game. Plenty of mine drops over here to protect probably the retreat for the APCs. Bike Rush going for that Tiberium Spike, trying to take it out, trying to force the tempo, like I was saying before, doing a good job of that, forcing his opponent to do what he wants, when he wants, with a significantly smaller force. Scorpion tanks try everything they can to catch these APCs, and indeed they might do it. They may ignore these harvesters, which are grabbing a healthy amount of blue Tiberium there over in the south. Scorpion tanks doing everything they can to try to cut off these APCs and might actually be able to get them. APCs are now in danger, but rocket squads are going to do a good chunk of damage to them. One APC does get taken down, one Scorpion tank does get taken down, but most importantly, Bike Rush is trying to sneak these harvesters past his opponent. They're filled with blue Tiberium, which means they're worth twice as much. First Watchtower is out. Bike Rush doing a good job of fighting his opponent, and not only fighting his opponent, but also getting gains while he is fighting, because it's more than, you need to do more than just destroy your opponent's units. You need to capitalize on advantages, whether those advantages are taking control of the center of the map, or like Bike Rush there, grabbing that blue Tiberium.
Right.
Bike Rush. Go ahead.
And right now he's keeping his opponent on his toes. Like, Bike Rush has really got good control, and it shows that he knows timing and pacing pretty well.
He's been doing plenty of these tactics to keep his opponent out on the back foot, and he transitioned extremely quickly into Hammerheads, AP ammo in them as well, as these units are basically sitting duck because the rocket squads are going to get a couple of really good shots off. There are a couple of rocket squads here for the defense. Bike Rush immediately splits up his forces to avoid some of the splash damage. One does get taken down, but he saved a good chunk of the others by microing them rather efficiently there, I'd like to say, to avoid, because if I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that those rocket squads do have splash damage when they hit.
That is correct, actually.
Bike Rush setting up, it looks like going for the center of the map, moving his MCV in there. Not sure if this is a second MCV or just quite yet. It is a double MCV into this air factory in the background. It looks like we got a Reclamator hub, so he's going to try to Marvest up these resources, and he's already moving in there. Mystic Elite not really doing too bad, but Bike Rush can make anyone look like a new player when you run into them. He just has such great tempo. He just capitalizes on every single mistake like Mystic Elite just did right there. I don't know if that was meant to be a scout, but that was a lot of units for a scout.
So yeah, his play is really tight, and you'll see a lot of that with Bike Rush. Is like when he had the Reclamator hub ready to go with his second MCV. Everything is timed almost perfectly. It's really amazing to watch.
And every single moment that goes by, Bike Rush already has a transition up and ready to go. He's got a strategy, he's got a plan, and he acts on it as quickly as he can. Marv is out, Juggernauts are out. That is going to be the good transition. Marv's going to try to get a bit of harvesting resources to get an even larger economic lead on his opponent. Bike Rush has harvested significantly more of his Tiberium in that first natural expansion. Cyclominer's out on the front line, giving a little bit of vision to these Gunwalkers, or not these Gunwalkers, to these Juggernauts. Mystic Elite might be in a little bit of danger. He did move his MCV up, and he is trying to, looks like long-distance harvester. I'm not sure what he's doing, actually, with that harvester. Maybe it is on auto-harvesting. Either way, Bike Rush is moving a couple APCs down to the south and beginning to tighten his grip on the center of the map. Marv could be in a little bit of danger here as the majority of the forces for Elite do make their way in. Engineer does pop its way in right on cue. At the very least, there's one engineer in it. A little bit of funkiness happening there with the Marv and its positioning. Not sure how it did that 360 spin, but it seems like it's in the wrong game. You need to be in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. I'm not sure what is going on there. AA batteries out on the front line, pushing out these Venoms, and things are not looking good for Elite. Bike Rush has just been absolutely relentless with every single one of his transitions, with every single one of his assaults. Just has not been letting up on his opponent. He wants that $1,000 prize, and I don't blame him.
And that obelisk going down right in the middle of that that Marv was a really poor placement, unfortunately, and he's going to be losing a lot of money here, unfortunately.
This might actually spell the doom for Elite. I'm not sure what he's going to be able to get off, because he's going to lose his MCV, and he lost all of those units there. He's got to be hurting for resources, and indeed, he does throw in the towel. He does give up to Bike Rush. Let's see if he can give Bike Rush a black eye in round number 2. I'll see you there.
It's amazing just watching the resources tab at the end. When you see Bike Rush's resource count is just exponential.
Welcome to round number 2 between Bike Rush and Mystic Elite. Speaking of, over in the top right-hand corner, playing the screen in the now pink, this is Bike Rush owns.
And in the lower left-hand corner, we have our Cyan player playing as the Nod faction. My apologies, Mystic Elite.
Mystic Leak into Bike Rush. I feel kind of bad for Elite because he seems like he's a pretty solid player, even going against Bike Rush. So I don't remember if this is I think this might be a double elimination tournament. So we might be able to see him once again. I need to check the notes to confer on that because there's a couple of the players who've popped up who I know have lost games and have shown up a couple of times. Chronos being one of those players who he lost both of those games, but he was there for both of them. So it must be a double elimination from what at least I'm thinking.
That would be my guess as well. Just because, like you mentioned, a few of the player names have come back. Again, notably Tracknos.
Switching my scoreboard over. Go ahead, sorry.
So right now we're seeing Bike Rush is taking his tip spike as well. He's taking both tip spikes. He's got 3 harvesters out. Fourth one coming in as well.
Mystic Elite not too far behind Bike Rush over here. He is a little bit slower on the uptake when it comes to this Tiberium spike. I think he's completely forgot about that engineer, but at the very least he's up on harvesters. Looks like Bike Rush did slap down a Foundry, which if you don't know, the Foundry is the crane for the Skrin factions. So he does not want to lose that build order as his drone ship moves across the map. But Mystic Elite is going to be able to see that and know that he's wasted a bit of money on this Foundry. Not necessarily that it is a waste, but he's going to be down resources both off of the Foundry and on whatever the Foundry is producing. Probably a refinery would be my guess, or a power plant.
Given the length, I would assume it's probably a refinery. But yeah, usually in the case of one green tip field and a second one in your expansion, building a foundry is a risky move just because it will put you back, as you were saying, resource-wise, and also it will do a lot of it'll be hard to sustain basically if you're using it a lot. So it's either wasted money or it puts you behind.
And it looks like Elite's trying to capitalize on that. I don't know if you noticed, but he did build 2 war factories, and he's got a healthy number of these attack bikes. And I believe it only takes 5 attack bikes, 2 volleys to destroy 1 harvester. So if Bike Rush is not careful, he might end up in a little bit of hurt over here as they move their way into the main base, now beginning to assault some of the forces here. 1 harvester is going to get targeted, going down to half HP. It does have a full set of Tiberium, as Mystic Elite does give Bike Rush a black eye and focuses on the other harvester. Bike Rush does do a little bit of sell-off to give himself some more resources. There are Seeker tanks here, but I think it's too little too late as another harvester does get taken down. Attack bikes doing a good job of wrapping up those kills, probably overstaying their welcome, though. Might not be a bad idea to back their way out, and they kind of are. A little bit sloppy retreat there, but they did get a couple of harvesters off on Bike Rush. And the assault section over is on the left-hand side. More bikes move their way in, destroying more harvesters. Another harvester full of Tiberium does get taken down. I don't know if we got a sell-off of the MCV or what that is, but this is a lot of units out and ready to go. Hitting Bike Rush where it hurts, hitting another harvester, trying to destroy that last one. Last harvester just barely managing to survive. Bike Rush transitioning into this disintegrators, helping slow that assault. It doesn't look like we have an all-in. He does still have his construction yard that is Elite, but Elite did manage to give Bike Rush a black eye, which can be particularly hard to do.
Right, and I think that there's a lot of irony there in Bike Rush getting his namesake used up against him.
Yes, a Bike Rush into Bike Rush. You think he would be prepared for it, but maybe that's the best strategy is shooting for the in plain sight one. The one that's so obvious that you'd think they won't do it, so they're going to do it. Seeker Tank's getting taken out over here by the Bike. Spike's actually doing a pretty good job of mopping up a couple of these forces, but the Gunwalkers and Disintegrators are going to move their way in. I'm not sure Bike Rush actually wants to do too much with this assault. I think he's just sort of poking and prodding and trying to see what he can get on. He didn't send a crazy amount of forces over here. I think he really just wanted to see what his opponent had cooking up, what his opponent has got going, which of course is still going to be the 2 war factories. Bike Rush is all over the place. He's definitely getting a healthy scout on that first natural expansion. That might be his primary goal, or at the very least a consolation prize. He's going to see what his opponent has cooking and out and ready to go, and that's going to give him time to prep for his transition, which it looks like it's going to be Mechapedes over in the top right one so far, probably followed by a second one here in a moment.
Right, and Bike Rush seems to be taking no chances. He's throwing Mechapedes. He's like, that's it. I'm not playing fair anymore.
Mechapedes are going to engage a couple of these Raider Buggies and take them out almost for free. That Micro is going to be in massive effect for Bike Rush. Controlling the Mechapedes like that, they are one of the more micro-heavy units, and playing them right can have amazing results. I think the only one who can really match him in those is probably Bart, Futurama, and Master Leaf's Mechapede control is also really powerful. Bike Rush getting a couple of really good, almost free kills off on the Scorpion Tanks, or at least he's making them look like they are free kills. Scorpion Tank after Scorpion Tank gets taken down, as so many Mechapedes are just joining, and it looks like Elite might already be in danger. He's just got so much inside of his base, and these Mechapedes are just lined up with their butts to the enemy. More and more units begin to go down. More and more units get taken down as Bike Rush is just not letting up. He's just going to hang out inside. He said, this is my base. I'm going to stay here. You just happen to currently live here, but I'm going to evict you with my Mechapedes. And indeed, he evicts him right out of the game. That does move us on to our next round. Go ahead, Alex.
That was really good play with those Mechapedes, and you could see that for those who were paying attention very closely, you could see he was switching between control groups. I would guess he was probably using 2 control groups as he was focus firing down with the Mechapedes on 2 different units and not wasting any shot as a result. It was a really good play.
And despite Bike Rush losing all of those harvesters, if you look at the resource tab, he was pretty steadily ahead of his opponent, and it only grew over time. Despite losing, I think he lost like 5 or 6 harvesters in that Bike Rush engagement. He definitely turned it around with the Mechapedes, though, for sure.
That was amazing, yeah. It was a great comeback.
Round number 3 takes place on your favorite Tournament Odyssey. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the Cyan in the Nod. This is Bike Rush owns, if my notes are correct. No, they're not. This is Mystic Elite playing the Nod in the top right.
Correct. And at the bottom left corner, we have Mystic Elite, our yellow screen player.
No, we have it backwards. Bike Rush is yellow this time around, and Mystic Elite is Cyan. Mystic I'm probably a little bit behind you. I just checked it to make sure. They're really trying to keep us on our toes here because Mystic Elite started out yellow, and now they've completely swapped colors.
That seems to be indeed the case. It got me too. Not only are they keeping each other on their toes, they're keeping us as well.
For sure.
All right, so let's see. Both players grabbing their tip spikes. A little bit slower on the knot side, but otherwise all good.
And I kind of think what happened there in the previous game, just sort of thinking about it, because I've done this in other PvP games myself, where you sort of get in a groove and you've done like PvP game after PvP game. You're just sort of used to it. And like maybe at that point, like when Bike Rush's harvesters were getting destroyed, he was like leaned back in his chair. And then when the Mechapedes came out, he finally set full forward in his chair to get ready for the carnage. At least that's what it felt like to me.
Right, so yeah, Bike Rush I think is very experienced. He's probably the most experienced player in terms of how much time he's been playing overall on Kane's Red, followed by maybe Astral Leaf and Futurama. So sometimes maybe he'll step a little bit back and relax a little bit, play a little bit more relaxed, and then fully focus when he sees the tables are slowly starting to turn.
Well, and a good number of these players are going to be a little more practiced for this than a couple of the ones that are just popping in fresh. Because, like I said in the background, the IES has been going on, and I've got a good number of videos on the IES overall. A couple of them started off like pretty shaky. Like Master Leaf went into the tournament saying that he was just I don't know if rusty's the appropriate word, probably rusty, and just wasn't really ready for the tournament because the IES did kind of come out of nowhere. In my opinion, so did the Chrono Clash, but Cybert even released a fancy commercial about it at the very least. So I think plenty of players saw that and plenty of players popped onto it. Plus, Cybert is still, if I remember correctly, he's still the biggest Command & Conquer streamer, at least for Kane's Red. I don't know if it's the same for Red Alert 3. I haven't looked too heavily into Red Alert 3.
I cannot say I've looked heavily into Red Alert 3 either, but I do believe that for Red Alert 3 and Kane's Red combined, he's still the top. He's still the top caster.
It would definitely show it on his videos, and I didn't even know for the longest time that he had a Twitch, but it would make a lot of sense. I've been trying to get into that field, obviously, which is what I'm doing right here. Speaking of the video, will probably be uploaded, if I can get everything working just quite correctly. Should be uploaded sometime tomorrow. I don't know when, because it's going to be quite a big one, which means it's going to need a lot of time to render and then to upload to YouTube. I will also, in the video, be linking not only my Twitch, but I will also be linking Alex's Twitch, and I will be linking his YouTube channel. I believe you have one. You'll have to let me know.
Yes, I do, actually. I'll send you that. I'll send you that after our little cast here. And we're seeing the engagement here start. First engagement in the game to start off on the action.
A healthy number of these disintegrators to absorb some of the shots, deal with the raider buggies, and deal with the attack bikes. They want the attack bikes to absorb those shots, and I think the Seekers are going to do pretty good into really anything. They seem to have, if I remember correctly, too. Seeker tanks are a really weird tank because not only can they shoot up, I believe they also have a small amount of splash damage. Although I guess the other tanks could have splash damage, but I haven't looked into that personally. Healthy number of raider buggies out here for Mystic. Keep in mind the colors are swapped. Bike Rush is not Cyan this time. That is Mystic Elite over in the top right, and Bike Rush is in the left, just to make it confusing.
And as we see, Bike Rush has a good little, sorry, what's the word for this? He's lined up his troops into formations, and he's pushing towards that attack force.
They're going to go for the soft target. They're going to go for the Tiberium Spike, but that could spell their doom if they're not careful. Those Seeker tanks moving their way in, getting a couple of really good shots off on the attack bikes. 3-4 attack bikes do get taken down there. Bike Rush capitalizing on what little bitty mistakes Mystic Elite did pop off. That's going to be one of those things that makes the big difference into some of these higher skill players, Futurama, Master Leaf, Bike Rush, Bart Jones, and I'm probably missing a couple of others as well, but like those tiny mistakes will make the difference for them. Bike Rush sending constant scout after constant scout in. Something I wish I could see a lot of these other players do is constantly scouting. That's something you do in games like Supreme Commander, where it's extremely important. Granted, the maps are a lot bigger, but I think it's also important in most RTSs, and in Kane's Rest especially. Attack bikes making their way in. Bike Rush might be a little bit of trouble as he might lose a Harvester or two here. One does get targeted. It does have a full set of Tiberium. Bike Rush has not been able to respond to this just quite yet, although there is the Storm Column that should be able to do it. There's the sell-off of the refinery, trying to save some of those resources, and it looks like the Annihilator Tripod came out just in time, followed shortly by the shield upgrades as these bikes have gone from Predator to Prey.
He's going to be trying to kill off another of those Harvesters, but I don't believe that he's going to be able to pick another one off. Five bikes are not enough to destroy the enemy Twin Harvesters in one shot, unfortunately.
looks like the transition is going to be planetary assault carriers already with an upgrade. Well, I guess that's just their force field, but still, planetary assault carriers are going to be the name of the game. That's going to be pretty good into a good chunk of this if they can keep it back from it. But he does have a couple of Annihilator tripods and disintegrators. He's got a healthy army, and Bike Rush is one of those players who he doesn't really cheese in terms of just spamming one unit after another. He really likes to diversify what he has, so he's got multiple tools because he's got the micro to switch between all of those different group sets. Disintegrators moving their way in, getting a free kill, but probably going to get taken out here by the Raider buggies. Bike Rush doesn't care too much about those, although he is going to try to capitalize on some of this damage as he moves his Annihilator tripods moving in, way in, getting a good chunk of damage on these Raider buggies, which means it's going to free up that unit. Bike Rush did a really massive bait there, in my opinion, only losing a couple of disintegrators and destroying most of the bike and buggy of his opponents. Stealth Tank revealing itself, destroying one of those Blizzard squads. Bike Rush is going to be hyper aware of that, making its way into his base. But will he be able to do something to stop it? Because he doesn't need to stop it if it turns around and goes back up north. Mystic Elite definitely behind on the economy front. Bike Rush has significantly more resources, I think, at his disposal and has more harvesting power. Obelisk of Light is going to get a Gunwalker, but Bike Rush sent that in there just to scout so he could see this Redeemer Engineering facility. Stealth Tanks are going to make their way inside of Bike Rush's base. I'm not sure what they were able to kill there or destroy, but they're going to focus on Harvesters, trying to justify their cost as they move their way into the secondary natural expansion, but they might be moving directly into a trap if they are not careful.
Right, we're seeing like 6 Screen Harvesters walking by the expansion and 2 walking away. I think he really wants to avoid losing those.
Redeemer is up in the background, and Bike Rush is continuing his scouting without really being there with that lightning spike temporarily to see that the Redeemer is up and that the sell-off the facility did happen. And most importantly, that his opponent, there it is. It looks like Bike Rush is being a little bit cheeky. He's got a portal, and he's going to be, again, harvesting the resources of his opponent. He also put a 1-click on it. They're just going to absorb the resources and bounce their way away. Bike Rush is definitely putting a little bit of a flex there on his opponent as the Harvesters make their way back through the portal. That's probably one of the more funny plays that I have seen. That's something I normally expect out of Master Leaf. 3 Harvesters do get left behind, but that is definitely cheeky, and that's got to throw insult to injury. Stealth Tank's trying to find what gains they can. Probably going to run into a couple of these Harvesters, but Seeker Tank's trying desperately to chase them down. They're going to destroy, it looks like, one of them, leaving only one of them alive, and somehow Bike Rush has managed to make all of his Harvesters out of there. A couple of them still in auto harvesting, and he has to send them back. Plenty of planetary assault carriers are here. We do have tip core rockets here for Mystic. It would be nice to see maybe a couple more Venoms or rocket squads or something, especially if he's got all of these avatars out. Man spam, I think, would be really helpful to pad out these stats, but maybe he doesn't have enough time to build those or enough resources up to get them out.
I'm seeing a lot of these games have are somewhat lacking in terms of infantry.
That is something I've definitely noticed too. We did get a couple in this set so far, but not really a crazy amount, especially into the Scrin factions. I feel like infantry does pretty well on that. Mystic Elite engaging his opponent over here. This might actually be a bit of a mistake as Bike Rush moves the lion's share of his forces. Those planetary assault carriers probably following shortly behind. Mystic Elite is trying to back his way out. There's the Rage Field Generator, able to focus the tripods, and Tripod does go down there, does get taken out, but it looks like that's really about it. However, I think Mystic Elite is lesser for that assault. That was a good Rage Generator, but he lost a healthy number of units, and I'm not sure he can afford to lose those. Those planetary assault carriers are going to be hard to deal with.
All right, and right now, what I'd like to see Mystic Elite do is build a little bit more anti-air, because otherwise he's going to be, he's not going to be able to hold that off. There's way too many planetary carriers.
The assault has begun in earnest as the planetary assault carriers engage their ability to start taking out Avatar after Avatar. Mystic Elite is in trouble. His Redeemer is not in position, but it's not going to be able to shoot up anyways, as the majority of the forces for Mystic Elite do get taken down. These planetary assault carriers are just so far uncontested. There is only one Venom, I think, left in the air. Everything else is just destroyed, and now everything is just going to be easy pickings for Bike Rush. No SAM turrets, nothing over here. He's had plenty of time to prepare for these planetary assault carriers. He's known that these planetary assault carriers are here. There's the Rage Generator, but it's not going to be able to do too much, as Bike Rush is still uncontested as he makes his way into his opponent's old main base. Probably follow soon. I'm not sure Mystic Elite can turn this around. That Redeemer can't shoot up, and it's only going to be able to do so much into these units anyways if it could. War Factory does go down. Power Plant does go down, probably followed by a refinery, or maybe they're going to focus on this Redeemer just to add insult to injury. Redeemer already going down so fast, already at half HP. Rear armor is exposed. Avatars moving their way in, but once again, they cannot shoot up either. Avatars are good, but just not into air units. Gunwalkers and tripods here to pad things out, and this is Bike Rush's game to lose, as there's a massive one-click on the Avatar. It wasn't needed, but it was definitely a little bit of BMing there, as they're just stuck there having to watch their base get destroyed.
So yeah, as we could have noted, as we could see here, Bike Rush really was punishing his opponent to the last second. I can't believe how tight that was.
Bike Rush just definitely want to be extremely cheeky with the harvesters for sure. That's probably one of the funnier. The only thing I found that was funnier than that for the first time that I ever saw it was the flying MRTs that Master Leaf likes to pull out. I think the harvesters might be funnier. He just kept up the BM throughout the game. I think it's all in good nature for the most part. Bike Rush has a very bantering personality, and so he does stuff like that and kind of expects it back. Either way, that's it for match number 4. We're moving on to the 5th one. Welcome back, Commander, to Match 5, Round 1 on the map, Tournament Highlands. Starting us over in the top right-hand corner of the map, wearing the yellow robe, sporting the Zocom gloves. Give it up for Jefferson.
And in the top right corner, we have the yellow player, Bart Jones.
I think Bart Jones is Cyan, if I remember correctly. Are my notes wrong completely here? This says nod into Zocom. Oh, okay. No, so I had that completely backwards. Bart Jones is in the... No, what is wrong with my notes here? Animal Bart, yellow. Yeah, so Bart's yellow. Okay, yeah, I completely ignore my notes. They are all over the place.
That's all right.
Let me pop the scoreboard back up. Give me one moment. And just to clarify, this is Bart Jones over in the top right, and his opponent is in Cyan, who, of course, is Jefferson. Get a little bit of fatigue on my end. I think this is the first time I've cast Bart Jones in the Chrono Clash. I may have done one other game. There's so many players and so many games to chew through. I know I've seen him a lot in the IES, and I quite enjoy watching his plays just sort of in general. And once again, there's another wild card for me. I have no clue who Jefferson is. So that's a new one for me, but I'm really happy to see, if these aren't aliases, I'm really happy to see a lot of names that I'm not familiar with inside of this tournament.
So I do believe that Jefferson is a newer player. His play so far seems to hint me at that. But again, I am not certain. He has put his refinery in facing the wrong direction, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, he has.
He's a little behind on his harvesters.
But there's nothing wrong with being a noob in the tournament. You got to get practice somehow, and this is a good opportunity for you to learn and to try. Jefferson could be a pretty decent player. I don't know him. Maybe he's just made a couple little mistakes here and there. You're only human, but he doesn't seem as practiced as Bart Jones. And from what I understand about Bart Jones, too, is Bart Jones has sort of been slowly climbing the ladder the last couple of months. When I first started casting, which was about 9 months ago, I believe, Bart Jones is really coming into his own, and was my first couple of videos there. And from what I understand, he just fought Bike Rush over and over and over in multiple games until he finally got a bit more practice and started picking up tips here and there from Bike Rush.
Yeah, I do believe they play a lot of games together to practice. That's what I've glanced from it as well.
That reverse refinery, I can't keep my eyes off of it. I keep going back to it. It's going to be really, really unfortunate. I'm not trying to highlight your mistake, my man, but it just keeps attracting my eyeballs. I'm sorry, Jefferson.
Yeah, it makes two of us. My apologies as well, I suppose. So yeah, we're seeing Jefferson send 5 of his pit bulls here. He's got a good vision on his opponent's main. So he's aware right now that there's not a lot defending those harvesters. He might want to take advantage of that. Though he seems to be going for the expansion, surprisingly so.
Making his way in, going to run into a couple of Raider buggies and the attack bikes here in a moment, which is not what they want to do. Wasting a couple of shots that they could be using on these harvesters. They do have to reverse move their way out. One Pitbull is going to get targeted down and is going to get destroyed basically for free. Bart Jones may have not been directly ready for it, but he has forces there, and his response time was absolutely on point. That strategy, or that may have worked on a lesser player, but Bart Jones is very practiced and is very, very used to those kind of assaults, especially if he plays a lot of games into Bike Rush. Bike Rush, for the most part, has like kind of leaned away from his Bike Rush tactics, but he still does them often enough. A couple of reinforcements over here by Jefferson to pad out his stats, get a couple of units, get a couple of APCs out. Those could help, but I don't think they're going to be able to do a crazy amount into all of his bike and buggy making their way into the center of the map. One thing I would like to see Bart Jones do a little bit more, especially if he's going to become as practiced or become close to his practice as Bike Rush, is hopping on that Tiberium just a little bit quicker. And actually, no, he's already done it. I didn't realize he already sent a harvester up to the north, being the first one to capitalize on that free Tiberium infusion.
And
Nobody
we're finally
really
seeing that.
Go ahead.
We're finally seeing that foxhole get destroyed in the main of Bart Jones.
Means no more free scout there for Jefferson. He's going to have to rely on what he can see. It would be nice to see him a couple more scouts. Jefferson is transitioning into 2 airfields. He's got a Firehawk out and ready to go. He's got a command post, and he's got a tech center. I think that's probably a little bit too much unless he's got a particular strategy in mind. Bart Jones going for the free kill, trying to reset the tempo, trying to force his opponent out of his hidey hole. He has not been able to scout his opponent too much, and I don't think he knows how much of an advantage he has. Firehawks are here, but I'm not sure they want to run into all of those attack bikes. No tip core missiles just quite yet, probably a bit early for that, but still something to keep an eye out for. Pitbull's getting caught in an unfortunate position, but maybe they're just here for a bit of scouting. Firehawks moving their way over on the center of the map, looking for something to snack on. Splitting up, weirdly enough. Stealth Tank is going to see a couple of them coming their way. Bart Jones does have a little bit of time to prepare for it. They are going to focus on, I'm not sure what that was that they destroyed. Black Hand popped out of it, so probably an operations center.
I believe he destroyed one of the air factories, so one of the airfields.
Oh, and I actually missed an assault over here, over on the secondary, or the first natural expansion over here by Jefferson. Does get completely assaulted over here by Bart Jones. Bart Jones moving his way in on his opponent. Mine drop off, but it's only going to be able to do so much. Couple of zone shatterers that could make a bit of a difference, but there's only 2 of them. The forces for Jefferson are looking quite anemic, and Bart Jones seems to be one of these more cautious players. maybe not knowing who Jefferson is trying to test the waters and see what kind of player is to make sure he's not getting baited. That tip core missile did pop its way out. Harvester is probably going to go down here in one volley. There it is. It's taken down. Shatter is going to take a couple of shots off at the Raider buggies, but it's going to be able to do so much damage. Mine's finally getting destroyed as the Firehawks make their way over, and they are going to see the expansion has been expanded upon over in the center of the map, and there is a Redeemer engineering facility. Jefferson is going to end up in some trouble, and he hasn't been able to do too much on the assault front. They're going to take a couple of shots off on these disruption tower. Looks like they have a couple of bombs inside of them.
All right, and those bikes are going to linger around trying to take them out, as well as those stealth tanks. Great use of that Zocom Orca Strike power that took out 2 out of the 3 stealth tanks. But those that remaining stealth tank is going to be able to take out quite a few more of those bombers.
Another Firehawk does go down as the stealth tank does make its way in over there. Redeemer has popped its way out. Low power mode for the sonic emitter. That could spell its doom if Bart Jones is paying attention, but I think he's grouping his forces over in the center of the map. He is moving a Spectre tank across over in to get a couple of artillery shots here in a minute. That could be unfortunate there for Jefferson. Bart Jones having complete control of the center of the map while continuing his harassment. It looks like Jefferson is in low power mode. Probably time to sell one of those air facilities. Spectre getting caught in an unfortunate position, getting destroyed by those zone shatterers, but the Redeemers are beginning to move their way in, probably soon to be joined by the Pitbulls and the bike and buggies, I should say, for Bart Jones. They do take out a Harvester. Sonic emitter is out here on the front line, but it's not in a good enough spot.
And that makes 3 of those harvesters going down. That's gonna really hurt and put a dent in his economy. And I don't believe there's much left right now. I am convinced that this game is Bart Jones's game to lose.
Jefferson is definitely on his back foot. He's got plenty of sonic emitters out, but they're in kind of unfortunate positions, each one of them. Bart Jones just kind of hanging out in the center of them, taking out the Firehawks as they fly past him. I think he spent a little bit too much money on these Firehawks and probably needed to get a couple more, maybe Pitbulls or a few other units out to contest the units of Bart Jones. It does look like Construction Shard is getting focused, and he is already down to half HP. Is going to get destroyed. A couple of reinforcements, but I think they're here too little, too late. They're going to be able to kill one of the tip core rockets, but at what cost? It looks like Jefferson is beginning to slowly fall apart. A couple of Zone Raiders here. It doesn't look like Jefferson really has a particular strategy in mind. He's just kind of building whatever from what I can tell, and he's not been able to get good targets off with the Firehawks. It would have been nice to see him use those Firehawks to maybe take out avatars or hit units coming his way, but he didn't. He focused on the infrastructure of Bart Jones.
Right, and unfortunately that tank center is going to go down, that sonic emitter is going to go down, and there's no more harvesters left in the main base. There's little that Jefferson can do now except to wait for Bart Jones to finish him off.
I'm going to go with he's not as experienced of the player, because most of the players in the Kane's Wrath community would have already just called in the GG. You know, like at some point the game is just out. When you have no harvesters, the game's just over. There's nothing you can do. Might as well just move on to the next one and save your energy for that one, especially inside of a tournament. Fatigue's going to be an important thing. There it is. He did throw in the towel finally there at the end, giving Bart Jones the first round.
And what do you think? What do you think that Jefferson could have done a bit better here?
If I'm coming off the top of my head, I would say I would have liked to see Jefferson have more grouping of his units, better placement of his sonic emitters. And like I said before, those Firehawks could have been useful. I think he should have been trying to maybe make some trades with those bike and buggies, or at least saving them for the avatars and a couple other units making their way in. He also is just, the only thing I can say is I think he just needs a bit more practice. He's got to get his timings down a little bit more, because you got to control that center of the map, and Bart Jones did a significantly better job of controlling the center of the map.
right? And I think that's yeah, that's a good analysis, and I think Jefferson was a little scared. Probably saw that it was Bart Jones, so he was a little bit worried about pushing out too early. Stayed a little bit too long in his base and focused too much on using his bombers and relying on those Firehawks instead of actually pushing out with an actual strike force. So I think that really didn't help. A little bit more map awareness.
Welcome to Toxicity. Over the top right-hand side of the map, playing the Cyan in the nod. No, nope, that's completely wrong. My notes are still backwards, aren't they? Looks to be the case. This is actually Jefferson in the Scion, playing the Zocom.
And on the left side, we have Bart Jones in the yellow nod robes.
Toxicity being one of those maps that I don't see players make it to the secondary natural expansion too often. It does happen when you have players that are a bit more even in skill. I doubt we're going to see it here, but who knows? Jefferson could turn out to be a wild card and pull some stuff off over at Bart Jones. And, you know, even players like Bike Rush can make mistakes that cost them a game.
Yeah, I think this is a fun map. I love the way that you expand from north to the south, and the way that the southernmost field for each side is a little bit more encased. It's an elevated position as well, so it provides an interesting like layout for a map.
Jefferson putting a scout inside of Bart Jones's base. Bart Jones producing his first Raider buggy to do a bit of scouting of his own over on his opponent's base. He's going to run into a couple of these rifleman squads and try to take them out. Killing a couple more of those scouts could be useful so those rifleman squads don't deploy, but I say that as a foxhole gets built on the on the first natural expansion for Bike Rush. A strange tactic I see from Jefferson. I feel like instead of going for the MCV, you should be going for really anything else, or be placing these units next to a power plant so you can pepper that instead. That does seem to be the more traditional strategy, and it does seem to get a little bit more gains. Pillbox is being developed here no, it's not actually being developed. I thought it was. Shredder Turret is out. Shredder Turret's going to take a few shots off on those rifleman squads and is going to destroy them. Raider Buggy finally making its way into Jefferson's base and seeing that his opponent is just a little bit behind on the base expansion.
Also, in terms of timing, from what I've noticed, Jefferson's like harvesters are a little bit just tiny smidge, a few seconds. Maybe 20 seconds, 10, 15 seconds later than Bart Jones. So he'll be a little bit behind. So unless he can catch up, that might amount to quite a little bit later on in the game.
Especially the longer the game goes, those costs kind of grow exponentially, and each unit becomes more and more critical. Your Tiberium spikes become more critical. So those are useful things to try and hold on to. Bart Jones actually already moving over into the blue Tiberium, giving himself that much needed infusion of resources, widening his advantage even further.
All right, so you'll always want to wait a little bit before you invest in going for that tip field in the middle, just because it's not fully grown yet, and you won't be able to get a full harvester out. In this case, it was just enough to be able to get a full one out. And that's going to pay off quite a little bit. So blue Tiberium is worth twice the value of green Tiberium, so it's really worth going for if you can.
Scorpion tanks out here for the defense for Bart Jones, but Jefferson playing his cards a little bit closer to his chest, not branching out into the center of the map. It looks like he's adopting more of a defensive strategy, which is not the worst idea, but it does mean that you're going to play at the tempo of a player like Bart Jones. Bart Jones is going to completely set the tempo, set the timing for him. Pitbull's moving their way forward, getting absolutely decimated by all of these Raider buggies. Sure, they don't do quite as much damage, but there's plenty of them here to deal damage. And now they're uncontested inside of the base as the Scorpion tanks move their way in. This might be a short game if Jefferson is not careful. He's got 3 Scorpion tanks. The only thing Bart Jones is not doing is he's not moving up his Raider buggies to soften up some of these targets like he could be. But maybe he's trying to avoid those rocket harvesters. Either one. One harvester is going to get targeted down. It does barely just manage to make it out as the refinery gets targeted instead. More and more Scorpion tanks join the fray as this is turning into an all-out assault. Jefferson might already be knocked out of this game if he's not careful. Refinery does get taken down, widening the gap in resources even more. A couple of reinforcements there on the front line that could help a little bit, but I'm not sure how much. Couple of rocket squads, which are going to definitely help for sure, but Raider buggies are going to begin to focus them down. Assault is continuing here for Bart Jones. Bart Jones is just absolutely uncontested, and I really don't think at this point Jefferson can recover, especially into a player like Bart Jones, especially after losing Harvester after Harvester. I think Jefferson is all but out of this, especially because the truck shard is getting targeted down. Sure, he's got one hammerhead, but it doesn't matter because it gets taken out by the Raider buggies.
Jefferson has been really playing aggressively this game, has not been letting up at all. Just putting up constant pressure on Jefferson. Really well done.
I think what he meant to say is Bart Jones has been keeping up the pressure on Jefferson. So
Bart Jones on Jefferson, yeah.
All good. We're about 3 hours into this cast, so I don't blame you. Refinery does get taken down. Jefferson is defeated. I just don't think he knows it just quite yet. Laser fence on the command post, but that's not going to matter. There's just no way, unless Bart Jones just destroys all of his own units and leaves the game. I just don't. I don't see Jefferson coming back from this whatsoever. And to add insult to injury, there is the laser upgrade, followed by more and more reinforcements that are just pumped directly into Jefferson's base.
Jefferson is being a real champ. He's not letting up until the very end, fighting to the last man.
He's saying, "I didn't hear no bell while on the ground bleeding with broken bones." That'll move us on to round number 3. Hopefully Jefferson can turn things around. He's definitely going to step it up against a player like Bart Jones. We'll get to see how he fares either way. Give us one moment. You know it was going to show up once again. This is Tournament Odyssey. Over in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing the nod in the yellow, this is Bart Jones.
At the bottom on the left corner, we have our Cyan Zocom player, Jefferson.
Tournament Odyssey being one of those maps that doesn't have blue Tiberium. I think it's a little bit more traditional in terms of what you can do, because there's not a lot of cheekiness. It's pretty much kind of the perfect map to practice on, because you've got 2 safety Tiberium spikes per player, EMP control center in the center that no one really grabs, a defensive tower that people sometimes grab and can make a bit of a difference. But for the most part, the Tiberium fields are pretty evenly spaced apart. And it's just a very standard and clean map, I feel, to practice on, which a lot of these players tend to favor, in my opinion.
Right, and Tournament Odyssey is one of the oldest maps I've seen in these tournaments. It's been holding up quite well since the beginning, which is rare usually for RTS games.
And that's definitely saying something, because Command & Conquer, Kane's Wrath, or Tibor, I can't remember which one is which one. But it's a 15-year-old game at this point, and the fact that this map is held on for 15 years really says something. Bart Jones actually producing a Operations Center and probably a Flame Tank or a Reckoner. Looks like there is going to be a Flame Tank. Bart Jones actually using his MCV to avoid the scouting there for his opponent. MCV actually getting a little bit of a crush there. Don't get to see that too often, but the MCV did get a little bit of a crush on the scouts, and in my opinion, probably a little bit of a BM. Bart Jones set up his construction yard in kind of an aggressive stance, sort of set up for his natural expansion and set up for maybe a base rush in the center. Flame Tank making its way across the map. So far, absolutely no scouting here for his opponent. It does look like the War Factory does get spotted, but I think it might be too late, as 2 Flame Tanks have already made their way almost completely across the map, and it doesn't look like Jefferson has expanded just quite yet. MCV might actually get caught here by the Flame Tank, as the Flame Tank is in prime position to take it out. There's no defense for it. Bart Jones is going to see it and immediately beeline for it, immediately starting to take damage. That MCV, while it's not deployed, is going to take extra damage as it's beginning to get burnt down. Jefferson cannot figure out where he wants to place this MCV, trying desperately to save it. Maybe showing a little bit of where he is unpracticed. There is one Predator tank here, but it looks like Bart Jones is going to play Ring Around the Rosies as the other Flame Tanks, 2 more Flame Tanks moving on the main base, destroying the War Factory, destroying the refinery. This might already be over here for Jefferson. I'm not sure how he can recover after losing that refinery, after losing 2 refineries. His base is all but gone. He's got a couple of tanks left, but he's pretty much out of this fight already. This might just be a quick one.
Yeah, it was a really quick rush. It's a really risky move to do this kind of push. It really puts you late in terms of expanding and getting your economy, but I think it's paid off well in this regard.
One power plant going down to that Flame Tank. Flame Tank probably could have taken out the construction yard, but maybe Bart Jones is doing his own little bit of BMing. Maybe Bike Rush has rubbed off on him just a little bit, and he might be playing with his food here. He is going for the Tiberium Spike, trying to throw that extra little nail in the coffin. Construction yard did get repaired with an engineer, it looks like, as another engineer makes its way over towards the power plant. I feel like that's a bit of a waste of an engineer. I don't remember exactly what the cost is of the power plants, but I know the engineer is 500 if I remember correctly.
All right, and a power plant is usually 700, so if you want to 600 or 700, usually if you want to repair it, you're better off just using the repair button, and that's the patch of its cost.
Feel like it was definitely not worth the cost or the travel. There's other resources you could be spending on that, especially in after that assault. To Jefferson's credit, though, he is beginning to build up a bit more inside his first natural expansion. He does have 4 Predator tanks, so Bart Jones is going to have a harder time moving his way in, although he is massing quite the number of Scorpion tanks and Raider buggies. And if Bart Jones plays his cards right, and Jefferson doesn't, Jefferson's going to waste the majority of his volleys, the majority of his shots for his Predator tanks on those Raider buggies, which is what Bart Jones wants. Assault is beginning in earnest. Scorpion tanks are going to be focused down these Predator tanks, destroying 1 left and right. There's only 2 left, and I think this is already over. I think Jefferson is out of this, but he just doesn't know it quite yet.
That's a lot of Scorpion tanks. I don't see this fight going any other way except Bart Jones's.
And it's kind of unfortunate for what seems like a new player like Jefferson, at least I'm assuming he's a new player, to run into. There's really 4 people I think you don't want to run into this early on in the tournament. Bike Rush, Bart Jones, Futurama, and I'm definitely forgetting someone else off the top of my head. Master Leaf, there you go.
Master Leaf, yeah.
Oh, either way, Bart Jones is continuing his onslaught on top of his opponent, who, like I said before, just doesn't know that he is dead.
At least that was a good use of the support power.
He's definitely trying. You know, I'll give it to him, and you know, maybe he's just taking this as an opportunity to play against some of the higher level players, because a lot of these players will only fight certain people that they feel are on their level. So this might be Jefferson's really only opportunity to run into a player like Bart Jones and get Bart Jones to play him, unless you go out of your way to ask him, and then they might, depending on their personality. Bart Jones seems a little bit more on the chill side, at least he is with me and talking with me, but I don't know how he is as a player.
I'm not too familiar with Bart Jones. I'm more familiar, I would say, with Bike Rush and Master Leaf. But yeah, usually they will tend to play with other players of their caliber. I think Bike Rush likes to what's the word for it? Question. He likes to troll people, I guess, a little bit every now and then. So he might maybe take up a player or two once, or coach them a little bit. I don't know, but I think Master Leaf is quite busy, so he doesn't see it as necessarily something he can invest time in.
And for those of you who don't know, Master Leaf is actually the one producing a lot of these balancing upgrades. Like he's the reason why we have R22 or all R23, and I think we're on Bravo now. There's another patch. I think it's done by, I think his name is CFG, called 1.03. I cast both of them back and forward, just whatever games I can find. This tournament is currently in Master Leaf's patch, I guess is the best thing to call it. Either way, I really appreciate you joining me for this, Alex. Make sure to give Alex a follow and to track him on YouTube as well. I will be trying to produce a video for YouTube, and I'll try to add Alex's information in there as well. This will be quite a long cast to slim down, so it'll take me some time to get that going forward. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to say there, Alex?
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for having me, Korak. And yeah, feel free to check out if you're on my YouTube where I've uploaded this. Feel free to check out Korak. I will link his Twitch, YouTube, and other social media below in the description. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, people.
That's all we have for you, Commander. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have been Korak. He has been Alex06. Transmission out.